Welcome to a wildcard stream, and I'm going to be showing you a few different wildcard teams you can make. They're going to be different to the best wildcard team video I made. That doesn't mean I've changed my opinion since then. I just think there are different choices you can go for, and ultimately there's no right or wrong. Some of you will want to go with Lukaku and Ronaldo up top. Some of you want Son, and some of you want Salah no matter what. Same with Trent. There's so many different options this year, and I think it should hopefully break up the template a bit. But thank you everyone who is joining in. I really appreciate it, and I know it's a bit of a kind of a weird time to do it right in the middle of an international break, but I put a poll up earlier, and the majority of the subscribers who voted wanted it to take place right now. So here we are, and if people want another one in the future, then of course feel free to let me know in the live chat and also in the comment section down below. But thank you very much for everyone who's joining in. On screen is my current team at the moment. I'll be discussing my plans anyway, my initial plans, but they could change, and of course I'll be letting you guys know in the team selection video what happens in the end. But there's still plenty of time, and the international break is quite long, but then again it does go quite quickly in my opinion. But yeah, thank you everyone who is joining in, really appreciate it. I'll start reading out your comments right now. Let's see, so Blast says, will Jota play the next 3 game weeks? Tough one to say, because I think Firmino is actually going to be coming back very soon. I'd say he starts the next game week for sure. I'm not so sure about the ones after, because if Firmino's back, they could start rotating, especially with the Champions League coming into the fray. But I'd say 2 of the next 3 game weeks, Jota should be starting. I wouldn't be too worried about him in that case, but Jota's always kind of a rotation risk. And even then, if he comes off the bench, he's still capable of scoring a goal. Sir says Wagwam. Bit of a weird way of spelling it, but yeah, not much, mate. What about you? And thank you for joining in. The Flying Dutchman says good evening. Good evening to you as well, mate. Thank you for joining in once again. Yarang says hello, Dylan. Welcome, Yarang. And if you have any questions, comments, feel free to let me know. Has anyone made a standout performance on international duty? Well, I was going to say someone, but not related to FPL. In terms of actual FPL, that's a tough one. There must be someone, but I'm not... I'll be honest, I haven't been watching the kind of European World Cup qualifiers. I've just been looking at South America. I'm trying to think, actually. That's a good question. If anyone knows, obviously let him know in the comment section. I think having Ronaldo and Bruno cancels out each other. Your thoughts? I don't know about having both of them. I mean, it could be a nice differential, and in some weeks you could be really ahead of the curve. I'm just not too confident about that. That's just kind of my personal view on it. I think Ronaldo is definitely going to be the standout right now. More people are going to be going off Bruno. I don't know, maybe having both of them is an interesting concept. It's not one I would entertain for the time being, but maybe you are onto something there. Heard something about Alisson, Fabinho due to Liverpool blocking the moves. Oh yeah, that's true, Singh. So because Liverpool and the Premier League blocked the moves to Brazil, I think Brazil are actually looking to file a complaint and get those players, or I think they won't be able to play for 5 days or something, so they might miss game week 4. That's a really good point, and that could affect Rafinha, for example, from Leeds. So yeah, that's a really good point that you make there. Will De Bruyne be back for game week 4, and is DCL still injured? Well, as far as DCL is concerned, we're not going to know until the press conferences with Rafa Benitez. I think he is still injured, but he can make it for game week 4. It's not a serious injury. As for De Bruyne, will he be back? I'd say yes. In either game week 4 or 5, he should start coming back into the mix. I'm not sure if he's going to start straight away, but he should be getting some minutes. He's not someone I'd be going for right now, to be honest. Holding wildcard for the game week swing, game week 8, says Paolo. Just sold Bruno and Tony for Torres and Lukaku. They look like great transfers on paper, to be honest. Lukaku in game week 4 is actually a fantastic choice. Even though I didn't include him in my best team for game week 4, I think he's definitely up there. The reason why I didn't is because of Ronaldo, really, but you can have both of them. When is the best time to use the wild card? Ultimately, it is a team-dependent question, but I am really considering game week 7 or 8 in terms of the fixture swings. For example, Manchester United, their fixtures turn for the worse, and then you look at Chelsea, their fixtures become absolutely fantastic up until game week 11, and even then they've got a few other good fixtures coming up. So I'd say game week 7 or 8 is looking like an ideal time at this moment, but it's a very team dependent question. Some people, they might be in a position right now where wildcarding would actually be beneficial and put them ahead of the curve, especially if they don't have Bruno, for example, or a placeholder premium where they can easily switch. Because if you have Salah, I'll be honest, he's not someone you want to get rid of to facilitate a Lukaku or Ronaldo transfer. You'd probably want to keep Salah. I think he's captainable for 3 of the next 4 game weeks. But yeah, I'd say game week 7 or 8 in a lot of cases is looking like a great opportunity. If not, maybe game week 14, 15, when Manchester United's fixtures turn for the better once again for a very long time. And that's quite a late wildcard, I'd say. So yeah, those are kind of some of the game weeks I'd be looking at. But of course, it's ultimately a team-dependent question. But still, I think those are kind of the key ones to highlight. Hello, says Davis. Welcome. Thank you for joining in. Opinions on Ferran Torres for 7.1. I'm going to be showing some wildcard drafts, and he is in. He has started all the games, to be fair. The problem I have with Torres is long-term, with the Champions League coming in. That's when I think it could be an issue. And yeah, he's just going to be constantly rotated. But the fact that City didn't sign a striker, Jesus is pretty much a winger now. Ferran Torres could be starting a lot up front for City. Then again, though, Pep could easily go with De Bruyne as a false nine. And that obviously will put Ferran Torres on the bench unless he somehow plays on the right. Some very good questions coming in. So Robinson will start all game. Not so sure about that, Azani. Unless you're on about Robertson, then yes, I think so. Is Tomiyasu nailed for Arsenal right-back spot? I want to say he's completely nailed, but I think he'll play the majority of the games. And actually, something that Arsenal could do is play a back three. Tomiyasu could either be a right centre-back or a right wing-back, and he could play there. I think he's going to play the majority of the games. It's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on him, and hopefully he does the business for Arsenal. Will Ronaldo start in game week 4? I think so. He's actually going to be travelling back to Manchester very soon, if he hasn't already, because he has to, I think, quarantine or something like that. So he wants to come back earlier so he doesn't miss game week 4. And I think that he will start. If he's fit, he definitely will. And if not, then Ollie will bring him off the bench and he could still do really well. But of course, if you're taking a hit for him, for example, or getting rid of a premium player like Bruno, you want Ronaldo to start, really. What are your transfer plans for this game week? So my kind of initial ones at the moment was to move Ings to Calvert-Lewin. But one thing that's really playing in the back of my mind is making 2 free transfers, Bruno Fernandes and Danny Ings out, and then bringing in Ferran Torres potentially and Cristiano Ronaldo. I can do that with 2 free transfers. I'll be honest though, with Ferran Torres, I'm not so sure, because if he is benched, I don't really have I'd say good enough squad depth to kind of cover. I've got Tsimikas, Ayling and Brownhill on my bench. They're not really the types of players I want to be relying on. I would go for Jota, but unfortunately, because I have 3 Liverpool players already, it would require an additional hit, probably to get rid of Tsimikas, which I'm not too keen on. So yeah, I'd probably say Ferran Torres and Ronaldo in for Bruno Fernandes and Ings is the most likely 2 free transfers I would make. And I'm still open-minded. I could maybe end up just going with Ings to Calvert-Lewin. It ultimately also depends on his injury news. But yeah, that's kind of some of the things I've been thinking about. Ivan Toney could make way. I can make 2 free transfers there and then maybe go 5 in midfield. But yeah, Ronaldo's really tempting, because even if he doesn't do too well over the next 3 game weeks, I can always move him on to Lukaku and then bring Ronaldo back in for United's great fixtures around game week 14. So yeah, I probably want to have a premium strike if I'm being honest. I have 2 transfers left, thinking of swapping Bruno, Ings and Tsimikas to Ronaldo, Adama or Torres, and can you suggest a replacement for Tsimikas? Is it wise to take a -4 for a Tsimikas replacement? Ultimately, I probably don't think so, if you can help it, and that's what I was just discussing now. I'm not too keen on taking a -4 to get rid of Tsimikas, because it will ultimately be for someone I'd probably bench in game week 4, so I'd probably say no, but long term it could pay off, especially if it's the only way you can bring a certain player in. Is swapping Kane for CR7 a good move? I think it is, to be honest, and once again you can always switch back to Kane or to Lukaku around game week 7, and then you can kind of target the big fixture swings. What I would say with the premium forwards is don't just keep constantly changing them from game week to game week. You want to give them at least 3-4 game weeks to prove themselves and to be great captain options. You don't want to have, for example, Ronaldo now, and then if he blanks, get rid of him and then get Kane and then do the same in game week 6 or 7. You want to have a bit more consistency, but what I would suggest is having 1 premium forward and then kind of alternate between them, but give them time. AJDC says, Sue! Welcome, Twitch streamer. Thank you for joining in, mate. Yeah, what are your transfer plans? Already discussed that, Paolo. Hope that White drops to 4.3 million. Thank you very much. But yeah, it is possible, to be fair. And I'm just not really too keen on Arsenal or him. But maybe Norwich, that is where he's able to get a clean sheet. And if he's 4.3 million, he's a decent player to get in, to be fair. My team: Mendy, Christensen, Matip, Holgate, Salah, Greenwood, Benrahma, Gray, Ronaldo, Calvert, Antonio, Bench, Traore, Dyer, Cody, Steele, Wildcard active. What do you think? It looks really good. Mendy, of course, look, he's kind of a set and forget goalkeeper, but his ceiling isn't too high. So maybe you could downgrade him and invest elsewhere. But it's still a really good team, to be fair. I'm not really going to pick out too many holes here. I don't like Matip, if I'm being honest. If I'm looking at that team, Matip is the one I look at and I just don't like him. The reason why is because he's injury prone, and even if he doesn't get injured, he's probably going to be rested from time to time in order to prevent an injury from occurring. So with Matip, I'd probably kind of just steer clear from him. I've been burned by him myself last season, where as soon as I get him in, he gets injured. Holgate's decent, but maybe you could do better there. But it's a good team. You've got a lot of squad depth. You've got Dyer, Cody, Holgate, Matip, Christensen. It's a good defence. I'd consider maybe going for Marçal instead of Cody. They're both good options, but maybe Marçal offers a bit more attacking threat. And the midfield looks fine, to be fair. There's not really kind of a big weakness. Traore, look, he's got the underlying stats. He's got the fixtures. I'm just not so sure if he has the end product, but it's still a very good team. Will Emerson start for Spurs, says Jeremy. Very good question now. I've got Tanganga in one of my wildcard drafts that I'm going to show you. And I think Emerson will be a problem for Tanganga. He's going to start quite often for Spurs. And I'm not sure if he's going to start in Game Week 4, but he's going to be the main right back in my opinion. Ronaldo already in Manchester, just arrived. Yeah, pretty much. That's what I've been reading over the last day or so. And yeah, he should be fine for Game Week 4. He should start. I mean, I'd just be very surprised if he's benched. But of course, I could be wrong about that. Yeah, Ronaldo's already in Manchester and quarantined for 5 days. How much will a -4 this week and next week as well cost my rank? I'm 82k. It ultimately depends how you do in the captaincy, but it could cost you quite a lot of places. Just that -4 hit. The gap is very tight at the moment between different ranks. So a -4 hit, and if you're going up in terms of like hits, it's going to be even worse. So yeah, -4 will be felt significantly at this stage of the season. The Flying Dutchman says, I've got Cinemacast out and Veltman last week to prevent an early wildcard. Yeah, that's a good idea, to be fair. And I made another transfer, so I didn't go for that, but that makes complete sense. Leeds fixtures look great after the Liverpool game. You bringing any of the Leeds boys? I'm considering Bamford. I'm considering Rafinha. Other than that, though, I'm not really kind of going to be too keen on them. I'll just look at them from afar, but I'm not going to be kind of committed to them. And the problem with getting Bamford in right now is that Calvert-Lewin for a similar price is probably offering much better value, and Everton are looking more promising going forward. But Rafinha is definitely one to look at regardless. Still, we have to keep an eye on that situation with Brazil, and if they're kind of going to force Rafinha to not play in Game Week 4 potentially as kind of a revenge. Try Rafinha or Traore or Gray to replace Bruno. Ultimately, none of them are going to be great Bruno replacements, but if you're using that money to invest in your forward like Ronaldo, it makes complete sense. From those you mentioned, I think long-term, Rafinha would be my pick, but maybe for the short-term, Gray looks good. Although, to be fair, Gray has the best fixtures up until Game Week 12, so you could arguably go for him. Traore I'm not too keen on because of his end product. Current mindset is to take a -4 or 8 to get in Lukaku, DCL, or Jota, or Ronaldo, Jota -4. With a -4, I keep Wilson, so not sure. Look, they're all good players to get in, but I'd try to avoid a -8 at this stage of the season. Wolves-Watford fixtures are pretty good. Will you bring any of them in the future? Yeah, look, in the future I could definitely bring them in, especially a Wolves defender like Cody or Marçal, and from Watford probably Ismaila Sarr, but they're not really players I'm going to be so keen on. They're not going to be priority transfers. They're kind of just other ones I could make to improve my squad. Hi, between Rafinha or Benrahma, who would you pick? Great question. Long term, I'd probably say Rafinha. In this moment in time, for the next few game weeks, I'd say Benrahma. Jota or Trent? Great question. I'd probably still prefer Trent because he's just secure to start and he can get the clean sheets. With Jota, he's matching Salah in terms of underlying stats, but if you have Salah, you don't have to have Jota. Thoughts on Son? I'm going to be showing him very soon. Look, Son from Spurs, same with Kane. I think they're the best options. Then you have their kind of 4.5 million defenders who are really good. Yeah, Son is really, really good in my opinion. The problem I have with Spurs is that they're not scoring too many goals, so the ceiling might not be too high. With Son though, he just needs one goal and he gets the bonus points. But it's just something to kind of consider still. He pretty much plays like a premium and he pretty much gets the points like one. What football team? I'm guessing you're asking what football team I support. Unfortunately, I support Arsenal. Zuma opinions for West Ham. Look, I mean, West Ham are really good from set pieces. Zuma could actually be yet another great option. He can get some headed goals just like he did in the first half of last season. And Creswell can get even more assists. So I think it could be a great FPL signing, really. Would you go for Arsenal defence if you're on wildcard? It's between Tierney or White. I'd go for White because Tierney's injury prone and White is just far more cheaper. You can get away with him. He might even go down to 4.3, so I'd go for White. Bench 1, Duffy, Marçal, Wilson, Ings. I'd be tempted to bench Ings, to be honest. Yeah, I'd go for him. Which to pick, Robertson or Van Dijk? I still prefer Robertson. In UCL Fantasy, that's a different story. I'd prefer Van Dijk, but in this, I'd prefer Robertson. Reasons why we shouldn't have two 4.5 million goalkeepers? I'm seriously thinking of doing that. Look, that's a good point, and actually in the past, I've actually benefited from having two 4.5 million keepers. The reason why I'm not really going for that is it's really difficult to predict where the hauls are going to come from in terms of defensive output and clean sheets. And in terms of two 4.5 million keepers, who would you go for? Raya is looking like the best one so far, but Brentford have very tough fixtures coming up. Then you have Bachmann. I'm just not so sure about him, and Watford. I just like Sarr from them, really. Sanchez is looking decent, but then again, nothing special. I just prefer having one kind of set and forget goalkeeper and not really worry about which keeper I should play. It can sometimes backfire. At one point, I think it might have with me, I had Henderson and Martinez when they were 4.5 million a few years ago, and yeah, it just didn't really work for me. Your voice is really unique. Thank you, Ashish. Really appreciate it, mate. Few price drops on my team on players I'm keen on holding. What should I do? Remove them? I always say this is my personal opinion. I wouldn't kind of be too worried about price rises and falls. Maybe this season it's a bit more important to have a better team value, but it's not something I'd make the top of my priority. So in my case, I think Ings went down in price, Tsimikas, and one more, Bruno Fernandes. I think they all went down in price, but I'm just not really too worried about it. And remember, for certain players who have already gone up in price, they need to go down by 0.2 million in order for you to actually lose money. So for example, if Ings goes up to, let's say, 8.1 million or 8.2 million, he has to go back down to 8 million in order for you to lose money. So yeah, the kind of buying and selling prices are different. So I'm not really too worried about that. Will Eduardo start for Crystal Palace? I'm not sure about in Game Week 4, to be honest. Hey Dylan, what do you think of this teammate? Sanchez, Reguilon, Soufal, Trent, Benrahma, Bruno, Salah, Gray, Antonio, Tony, DCL. Looks very good. Yeah, I mean, double Spurs Defense is on... No, my bad. I read it as Davinson Sanchez, and even then, remember, Davinson Sanchez is actually not going to be playing in Game Week 4. That's a really good team. I'm trying to pick out holes in it. There's not really a clear weakness. Bruno Fernandes is not going to be as enticing an option, but he's still really good. Ings to DCL, I still think that's a very sensible move, and it's a no-brainer. The reason why a lot of people are probably going to go off it is because Ronaldo's in and they want to get him in. I might do that myself. Is a -12 worth it? Definitely not, mate. Not in my opinion. It could pay off long term if you're getting really good players in, but I just wouldn't do that. Mendy or Jose Sarr? I prefer Mendy, but 6 million for a goalkeeper, not too sure. Jose Sarr at 5 million could actually be very good for the next 10 game weeks or so. Then again, you can always go for one of their 4.5 million defenders. Jesus, voice crack. Is a -4 worth it for Jota and CR7 in and Bruno Ings out? I think it could be long term. I don't like hits too much, but a -4 in that case could work long term. Just be sure to not transfer them back out after. Hey Dylan, would you downgrade Son plus Ings to CR7 Gray or some other cheap midfielders? Great question. Yeah, I'd probably do that. I'm not sure how much money you'd have available to kind of move Gray to someone else, maybe like Benrahma or Sarr, but I probably could do that, to be fair. Wait, no, I can get Jota in. I have 3 Liverpool players. Would Wildcard be good then? I wouldn't Wildcard just because of that, mate. I think that's... You have a good team. You don't have to undo everything just because you have 3 Liverpool players and it requires an extra hit. I think you should leave it there. What about Aubameyang? He could be decent for Norwich at least, but he's not someone I'd be bringing in. Of course, he could be a placeholder for Lukaku or Ronaldo. I just wouldn't go for him. Is Varane a good option in my defence for my FPL team or Shaw long term? I think with Ronaldo coming in, Shaw could actually get some more assists and bonus points. Varane was very impressive in his first game week, but I probably would still prefer Shaw. Greenwood to Traore for game week 5, is that okay? It's okay, but it's not something I'd be too keen on. I think Greenwood is still far better, even if his minutes are going to start to be limited. Better defence plus Bamford or worse defence and DCL? I mean, it depends what the better defence entails, like which players are you bringing in. But from the looks of it, I'd prefer a better defence and Bamford. I think that's just better squad. Also, what colour is London right now? Next question. Look, I think London's red overall, but right now I can't say that. You know, they're fucking 20th in the league. But yeah, just joined the stream. Is this your team for the next game week? At the moment, I've got 2 free transfers available. Haven't made them yet. I'm thinking of getting Ferran Torres and Ronaldo. If not, maybe Jota, but that would require -4 by getting rid of another Liverpool player like Tsimikas. But yeah, that's kind of my transfer plans at the moment. I'm going to be showing you now some kind of wildcard teams, and I'll try to get through all the kind of questions and comments. Thank you everyone who is joining in. And just to let you guys know, you can actually join the channel as a member. If you see next to my channel icon, there's a join button, and you can become a member. There's different perks, and you can support the channel further, but you do not have to. The content will always remain free. Same with super chats. You can send them in to support the channel, but you do not have to do that at all. And, you know, it's just something I'd appreciate, but you do not have to do that. As I keep on saying, it's just ultimately up to you. And thank you everyone who is here. 74 people. Remember to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. This is the first kind of wildcard team I have for you guys today, and I have made some in the past, as you've seen in the last few days. And thank you a lot for the support on those videos. Let's see. Let me try get through the questions I missed out, and then I'll be kind of explaining some of these picks here. But yeah. Tsimikas is still 4.2, so you could still sell for a profit. What, really? Did he? That's a rookie mistake if I got that wrong. Yeah, he's 4.2. He hasn't gone down in price. That's really weird. I heard that he actually went down. Okay, so my apologies for that. Let's see Bruno actually. Let's go back here to Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, he's gone down, and I think Danny Ings. But you don't lose money there if you got them in from the beginning. So yeah, I'm fine with that, to be honest. Yeah, that's completely fine. Wow, Tsimikas didn't go down. That's great. Hi, Dylan. Foram here. Thank you, Foram, for joining in. I remember you from the last stream. Gundogan or Torres? I prefer Torres, to be honest. I know Gundogan, look, he kind of made me eat my words against Arsenal. I still prefer Torres. And long term, if he continues to start, he's definitely the best value option in midfield. Wow, why not Ronaldo? Well, I don't have him in right now. That doesn't mean I'm not going to get him in. I'm just really tempted to get Ronaldo in because he's a placeholder for other strikers too when United's fixtures turn for the worse. Dylan, at 6 million, do you prefer Traore or Sarr for the next 5 game weeks? Honestly, I prefer Sarr. That's just kind of a personal opinion. I prefer Sarr as a player. I think he has better end product. But Traore, in terms of fixtures and underlying stats, there's no comparison. You know, he's been very good. Force on this team: Sanchez, Pereira, Trent, Shaw, Mount, Mahrez, Fernandes, Son, Ings, Antonio. Like it a lot. I'd consider trying to move Ings away to someone else. And possibly Mount and Mahrez, because, well, Mount is a good player. He's going to be nailed, but I'm just not so sure if he's the best value option at that price. You could always go for, let's say, for example, Ferran Torres, Greenwood and Jota. Fernandes is still a good option, so I like that. And it's a good team overall, Tafel. Or would it be better to do a wild card? Nah, I wouldn't wild card that. Is Marcel more nailed over Cody? I think Cody's more nailed, but Marcel is just better when he's on the pitch in terms of attacking for it. Raya or Jose Sarr, which keeper's better long term? I'd probably say Jose Sarr because of the fixtures, but Raya's been exceptional and so far he's been way better. Use my wildcard this week. Any recommended changes? Shaw, Arnold, Greenwood, Salah, Benrahma, Allen, Son, Antonio, Ronaldo. That looks solid, to be fair. In terms of actual changes from that, there's nothing that stands out. I wouldn't start Allen. I definitely wouldn't start him, but the rest looks solid. Let's see. I don't think this is loaded. Apologies for that. Yeah, damn, I don't know what happened to the chat. -4 to get Lukaku or -8 to get Ronaldo? In this case, I'd probably say a -4 to get Lukaku. -8 to get Ronaldo. It's just... Look, it could pay off over the next 3 game weeks, but it won't pay off this week for sure. Unless Ronaldo gets like 20 points, then maybe, but I try to avoid a -8. My team is Sanchez, Soufal, Trent, Shaw, Bruno, Salah, Benrahma, Son, Rafinha, Tony, Antonio. I have 2 free transfers. Could you please suggest any changes? Okay. Yeah, you got Bruno. I mean, what you could do... I mean, yeah, I wouldn't get rid of Antonio. I'm not sure how much money you have to play around with, but I'd consider maybe getting Torres and Ronaldo in for Tony and Bruno, but I'm not sure you can afford that. So let me know about that, but I'd definitely try to get a premium striker in there, and I think just having a premium striker and Antonio is enough. You don't need to have 3, in my opinion, but that looks solid. If you have enough money just without making other transfers, Tony to DCL is a really good one as well. Yeah, I'd probably say those are the sorts of transfers I'd make. But let me know what kind of budget you have to operate. Sarr plus Duffy, Livramento or Gray plus Cody. That's tough. I mean, Duffy, I'm not sure if he's going to play long term. So I'd probably go with Livramento and Gray. Yeah, or Gray plus Cody. Yeah, Gray plus Cody. I'd go for that. What do you think about Arsenal? Look, I think they've definitely chosen to go kind of long-term with their signings, but they needed to buy more experience. I know they spent the most of any club in terms of transfer fees this summer. I just don't think they've kind of addressed some of the kind of key weaknesses. Of course, they got a right back. Tomiyasu could be really good in the future. I still think they needed another centre-back because they got rid of Saliba. That's poor management. They needed another central midfielder like a Bissouma, and even possibly another left wing or striker. But to be honest, we'll wait and see. With Arsenal, I predicted before the season 8th, and last few seasons I've been more optimistic, but this season I predicted 8th, and yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure if they're going to get 8th, to be honest, at this moment in time. Bamford plus Rudiger or DCL plus Reguilon? Great question. Look, I think Rudiger is just a kind of set and forget defender for the rest of the season. I really like him. But I'd say for the short term, DCL and Reguilon is probably better. But kind of looking until the end of the season, Bamford, Rudiger is probably best. But yeah, I mean, I prefer DCL over Bamford, but Rudiger over Reguilon is kind of a bit difficult there. Ings and Bruno out for Ronaldo and Torres Jota. Is that fine? Really, Ronaldo will be better than Bruno in FPL? I think so for him. I think he will be. He'll be the focal point of United's attack. I think he'll be on free kicks and penalties, despite him missing a penalty against Ireland. Yeah, I'd probably say so. Will Arsenal come back? Hopefully, but I'd probably say no. Gray or Rafinha? I think long-term Rafinha, but for the short-term, Gray. I'm watching from India and I've been regularly watching your channel. Really like your insights, but the timing of the live session is so late for us here. Any chance you can bring it an hour ahead? Okay, fair enough. That's something I will take into account for the future. I'm going to try to do different live streams so different people can watch. Of course, it's very difficult to kind of fit everyone in, but thank you for the feedback and really appreciate your Yang. Keep Bruno and sell Ings for Bamford, Jimenez, or bring Traore and Ronaldo for a -4. Good question. Oof. Yeah, I'm just not sure about Traore. That kind of ruins it for me. So I'd probably keep Bruno and sell Ings for Bamford. Or maybe DCL if you can do that. But I'm guessing you have him already. Jimenez is also another good option. Sissoko over Brownhill? Yeah, actually I've got different wildcard drafts. I've got Sissoko in some of them. I've got Brownhill in other. I'm not so sure. I'm not really too kind of infused by the 4.5 million options. There's also Gilmore and Bissouma. But yeah, Brownhill and Sissoko could be the two best ones. Shaw, Trent, Cancelo, Livramento, Amati, Dele Alli, Smith Rowe, Salah, Bruno, Brownhill, Antonio DCL, Ings. 2 free transfers there in the bank. Yeah, in terms of transfers I'd make with that team, yeah, I think you need to improve your defensive depth a bit. So Amati and Livramento, just long term, you just want to have one of those. And yeah, I think you want to improve your defense a bit. Dele Alli and Smith Rowe, they're not really players you want to be starting most weeks. Salah and Bruno, one thing you could do potentially is downgrade Bruno and use that money to improve Dele Alli and one of your defenders. And I'd probably, upgrade Amati because he's not going to be starting in the future. And as for Ings, you can also move him on, especially if you have a lot of money in the bank. Yeah, you could easily move him on to a Ronaldo or Lukaku, but that's by downgrading Bruno. Rudiger or Reece James? Well, right now Rudiger because Reece James is suspended, but when he comes back from suspension, I'd probably go for Reece James. Then again, though, Rudiger's more nailed, in my opinion. What do you think about Dennis from Watford? In terms of the kind of cheap strikers, he's the best one, but he's not someone I'll be bringing in right now. Is Son and Ronaldo good additions to my attack long term? I think so. But in terms of Son, I mean, look, I really like him. I'm not sure if he's kind of one of the best ones you can go for. If it means going without Salah, for example, then I'd probably say no. Tierney will outscore Shaw. I wish, but I'm not sure about that. What do you think about Dennis from Watford? Yeah, I answered that. This is the best live stream. Keep it up. Thank you, Ashraf. Really appreciate it, mate. I'm trying to fit Torres, Jota, Salah, Trent, Ronaldo, and Antonio into one team that's strong all round. I'm not sure if I want to weaken my defense too much. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't try to kind of weaken other areas of your team. The defense is important. You want to have 3 players in the back line who play pretty much every single game and maybe one decent option to cover from the defense. So yeah, I'd probably kind of bear that in mind. Is Torres a must-have asset? Not in my opinion. I don't think he's must-have because the Champions League will come in. He's going to be rotated a bit. Yeah, I wouldn't say he's must-have. He's a really good option though when he starts. Thoughts on Jota? I think he's going to be starting the next few game weeks. Firmino will be coming back, I'd say, sooner than expected. That's based on kind of the reports we've been getting. And yeah, in terms of underlying stats, Jota is right up there with Salah, and whenever he plays, he's just a constant threat. So I really like Jota, but also in terms of my team, for example, I'd want to bring him in, but the problem is that I have triple Liverpool already. Adama or Trincao? Trincao is a nice player, to be honest, and I've seen him at Barca last season. I'd probably maybe go for Adama a bit more because of the positions he's getting into and the underlying stats, but I think Trincao is one to keep an eye on, to be fair. Isn't Rafinha due a price drop? I think so. I haven't been paying too much attention to the kind of price drops, to be honest, so yeah, I mean, he probably is, and with the Liverpool fixture, some people will just be looking at that and getting rid, but look from Game Week 5 onwards, fantastic fixtures. My team is Sarr, Duffy, Shaw, Williams, Semedo, Salah, Traore, Vlasic, Torres, Kane, Antonio, Lukaku. Any changes and suggestions? My bench is Sanchez, Livramento, and Bissouma. Okay, so that's quite different. You've got two keepers you can rotate there, and that's decent. That could actually be the kind of best rotating pair you can go for over the next 10 game weeks or so. Livramento around the kind of budget defenders is probably the best one. Bissouma, yeah, I'm not really too kind of fussed about which 4.5 million options you can go for. Having double Wolves defence is interesting, Semedo and Sarr. I'm not sure I'd go for that. I'd actually consider going for a Chelsea defender instead of Semedo. If you can, go for Christensen. Traore, once again, I don't trust him enough to go for him. Vlasic, I also probably wouldn't go for him either, in my opinion, but the rest looks really good. Ronaldo and Bruno double up, a good idea? I think so. It's something that I discussed before with one of the viewers, but yeah, it's something that I'd probably just rather have one of them instead. Maybe even Ronaldo and Greenwood instead of Bruno as well. Sanchez, Duffy, Trent, Rudiger, Marcel, Livramento, Salah, Torres, Greenwood, Benrahma, Sissoko, Bamford, Antonio, and DCL. Any suggestions or improvements? Just worried about DCL. I think DCL should be fine. Like, just wait until the kind of press conferences next week before making a decision on him. He should be fine. That's a really good team, by the way. I don't know if you remember my old team, but is it worth a wildcard, a team like this? Yeah, I remember the team. Yeah, I don't think so, mate. I think it's fine. Maybe just a few changes with free transfers, but I wouldn't wildcard that. Choose two between Torres, Greenwood, Jota, and Rafinha. Great question, Kai Havertz. I'd probably go with... Oh, that's really tough. Oh, my God. I'd probably say... Ah, damn. Torres and Jota, kind of long-term, I'd probably say. Greenwood I like a lot for the short-term, but I'm just not sure about his minutes in the future. Thoughts on Torres? Great option when he starts, and I think he will play more often than not, especially with City not signing a striker. Jesus is no longer a striker. He's pretty much playing on the wings, so... Yeah, Torres is looking really good, but he's not must-have. What is the key on how to have a proper balance in my team? I'd say not having too many premiums. So if you have Trent, Salah, Bruno, Ronaldo, and Lukaku, chances are the rest of your team is pretty weak. We beat Venezuela, says Raul. Oh, so you're supporting Argentina as well. Yeah, it's a really good game, actually. I stayed up until 3 a.m. to watch it, and it was worth it, I have to say. And you saw that challenge on Messi. I mean, that was completely ridiculous, but that South American physicality for you is actually crazy. Meant I have Ronaldo in my team, not DCL. Oh, fair enough, yeah. Going without Ronaldo in Game Week 4 is a bit of a scary sight. You'd probably be hiding behind the sofa, but you have a very good attack. Is Matip a good option? Look, he's not a bad option, but the reason why I'm not keen on him is his injury record. I had him last season, and he just constantly broke down. And, yeah, I mean, he's a good player. He can get bonus points, and, you know, if he can stay fit, he's someone worth considering, but I just don't think he will. Best Simicast replacement, 4 million to 4.5. I'd probably say either Marçal or Tanganga. The reason why Tanganga's not really as appealing to me now is because Spurs signed Emerson Royale at right back. Who is the best Wolves asset to pick? Great question. I'd probably say either Marçal, Cody, Traore, Trincao, or Jimenez. Jimenez is definitely under the radar, but not someone I'm going to be going for right now. Jose Sarr actually in goal is very good. So if I had to narrow it down, I'd say Jose Sarr, Marçal, and Jimenez are my favourites. Jota or Torres? That's a great question. I mean, if Torres can continue to start, I'd go for him. Great live stream, man. Answering so many questions and interacting with everyone. Thanks. Thank you, Geeks Compendium. What a name, by the way. And yeah, thank you for your comment. Rafinha doesn't look like going down in price anytime soon. Fair enough. I mean, I need to actually check these price changes. And it just shows you I haven't bothered about price rises. And I'm not really too, fussed about it. Alonso opinions. I think Chua will come into the mix. That's the problem with Alonso, but for the time being, he's looking like exceptional value at 5.7 million. He's doing really well. Is Christensen nailed? Not completely nailed, but I think he'll play the majority of the games. I think Rudiger's a bit more nailed than Christensen, but at 5 million, you can't go wrong. Let me actually discuss this team you see on screen, and once again, you can always go for maybe someone else. Just because you see a certain player, you don't have to go for them, and there's no right or wrong answer. So Sanchez and Steele, once again, like I said, with the 4.5 million keepers, I'd say Raya has been the best one so far, but the fixtures long term aren't too good. You can go for Jose Sarr if you want someone around 5 million. I think he's actually really good, but ultimately I don't want to spend 6 million on a Mendy or something like that. In terms of the defence, Christensen's there. That doesn't mean he's completely nailed, and if you're not sure about him, maybe go for Rudiger, but I'd suggest having one Chelsea player at least on a wildcard with a look to the long term. So forget about game weeks 5 and 6, where Chelsea have very tough fixtures. I still think they can do really well in those fixtures actually, but game week 7 onwards is where you really want Chelsea players. And Eric Dyer is a bit of a weird one. I mean, he's kind of been a very poor asset in the past, but Spurs are looking decent defensively. You don't have to go for him. You can go for Marçal, you can go for maybe a Reguilon or someone else. It depends on your budget. But yeah, ultimately, I just think that Spurs defense is looking really solid. I'm not too sure about Wolves defense yet, but in other wildcard drafts, I am going to show a Wolves defender, of course. Trent is still, in my opinion, the best or one of the best defenders you can go for. And I don't know about captaincy shout, but once again, sometimes Salah, Bruyne and all these premiums blank and Trent is doing the business. I think it happened in game week 2, I believe, or game week 3. So Trent is definitely worth considering at 7.5 million. Brandon Williams at 4. Look, he's just a cheap defender who plays. I prefer Livramento slightly, but even then, I don't trust Southampton defensively, so it just depends on your budget. Luke Shaw at 5.5. The reason why I've got him in, look, I prefer having kind of defenders you can look at and just keep for the long term, but you can always switch him on to another Chelsea defender and double up on their defence in game week 7 onwards. But Luke Shaw for the next few game weeks could go crazy, especially with Ronaldo coming in. Then you look at the midfield. Forget about Brownhill. You can go for any 4.5 million midfielder you want. If you have more money available, go for Demarai Gray, I'd say, or an Ismaila Sarr. That depends on your formation and budget. Mohamed Salah, I think, is a no-brainer. He's captainable in 3 of the next 4 fixtures. Rafinha. Now, this is a bit of an interesting one. You don't have to go for him. You can go for Demarai Gray instead, Ismaila Sarr. Or, if you have enough money, upgrade him onto a Greenwood or Jota. I think they're probably much better options, but Rafinha has very good fixtures in the long term. I wouldn't be kind of doubling or tripling up on Leeds right now, but I think having one of their players during their great fixture run could be very good. And actually, if you look at Daniel James going to the club, if he actually starts, and same with Harrison, they could actually both be the wingers there. So James takes Rafinha's spot on the right-hand side, and Rafinha might move into a more central position. That's just one possibility. And then you see Ferran Torres. He's not someone I discuss too much in my best wildcard team, but of course, he's such a... he's on such a hot streak at the moment, and that performance against Arsenal was sensational. But once again, we have to realise Arsenal were very terrible in that game. But if Torres starts, the amount of chances City create with De Bruyne coming back into the mix, he could be absolute FPL gold. Then again, though, City can maybe play one of the midfielders or wingers as a false 9, and Ferran Torres can be benched. And with the Champions League coming into the mix, I'd be a bit kind of skeptical, can't even say the word right now. I'd be a bit cautious about getting Ferran Torres. And then as for Benrahma and Antonio, look, I'm not really too convinced about both of them getting double-digit returns all the time. And if I had to pick one, I'd definitely go for Antonio, but you can always double up on their attack. And if not, go for a Demarai Gray or an Ismaila Sarr instead of Benrahma. You don't just have to go for him. And yeah, Antonio, in my opinion, I wouldn't say he's must-have, but he's the best option at the moment in FPL, offering so much value. I'd definitely go for him. He's in all of my wildcard drafts at the moment, so it just shows you how highly I rate him. Long term, I've already discussed my kind of concerns with him, but we'll kind of go on to that a bit later. And then Ronaldo, look, it might be jumping the gun a bit to kind of get him in, especially on a wildcard or taking massive hits, but I still think Ronaldo is the real deal. Scored 2 goals, became the all-time international top goal scorer, and Newcastle was such a great fixture, and you wouldn't want to go without him in that. Although if you have Lukaku, you could maybe get away with it. Same with Salah. And then Calvert-Lewin. I don't know if he's going to be fit for Game Week 4. I believe he will be, but we need to wait until the press conferences for Rafa Benitez. But yeah, I think if he's fit, he's the second best option around this price behind Mikel Antonio. And once again, like I said, if you have enough money, upgrade Rafinha to a Greenwood or a Jota. And if not, you can go to a Demarai Gray or Ismaila Sarr. Dyer could become Reguilon, could become yet another Chelsea defender. You can also go for Marçal or Cody. It's not really too much of an issue. So you could potentially downgrade Shaw to a 4.5 million defender and upgrade Dyer. So there's different ways you can go about this team. Jose Sarr instead of Sanchez. But that's one wildcard draft. I'd do something similar to this if I was wildcarding now, or the best wildcard team video you saw the other day. Now this is another one. Once again, the same goalkeepers to be fair. You can always go for Jose Sarr. I'd say Sanchez, Jose Sarr. Perhaps Mendy if you're willing to spend enough money. Hugo Lloris, they're looking like the best options, but that can change in a few weeks' time. Christensen is in once again. You can always go for Rudiger. Marçal's in here instead. Livramento instead of Brandon Williams. Tanganga, I'm not too sure about. I think with Emerson coming into the side, Tanganga could lose his spot, which would be very unfair, but it's a possibility. Then you look at the midfield, Demarai Gray's in there, and Heung-min Son. This is the Heung-min Son draft pretty much, and I think he is worth it, but I'm not sure if he's offering better value than a Lukaku or all these other premium players that we have at our disposal. And the kind of good thing I keep on saying with Ronaldo and getting him in is you can downgrade him to any other striker you want, and you don't have to worry about getting extra funds to kind of get him in. And in terms of 4.5 million strikers, I'm not too convinced by any of them. If you have enough money, I'd say go for Demarai Gray, sorry. You can go for Emmanuel Dennis up front at 5.2 million, but he's someone that would be a bit kind of weird to own because you don't know when to bench him. He's kind of at an awkward price point, and he's actually really good, probably too good at times to be on your bench, but you know, if you have so much squad depth, you might not actually play him, but it could be between him and Demarai Gray in your starting lineup most weeks. And instead of Benrahma, once again, you can go for Sarr and you can go for other different players. There's no kind of set formula. And Ferran Torres is not essential. I'm going to have to keep repeating this. He's not essential by any stretch of the imagination. You can always go for Greenwood or Jota. They're all kind of similar. Similar prices, similar situations. They're going to be in and out of the team, especially when other competitions come into play. And then finally, let's look at another draft. And to be honest, they're quite all similar, I'd say. But this one is, I'd say, quite a bit different. Lukaku and Ronaldo both in up front, and once again I've got Antonio in there. If you want, you can downgrade one of these strikers and invest more money into your midfield. But Sarr, Benrahma, Torres, Salah looks pretty good. Maybe I've been putting Benrahma in too many of these drafts. Maybe he doesn't deserve it. I'm pretty sure I didn't put him in my best wildcard team, but he's a great option still. And then here we go, Marçal and Dyer both in, probably the best options around that price at the moment. There is Ben White. Good long-term fixtures, even Ayling. If you do have them, I wouldn't be taking hits to get rid of them. This is why you got them in. Good medium to long-term fixtures. So Ben White and Ayling could be good for the next few game weeks defensively. But if not, and you're wildcarding, Dyer and Marçal are looking pretty impressive. And yeah, you know, just because you see Sanchez and Christensen and some of these players in all the drafts, it doesn't mean that you have to have them. There's different ways you can go about it. I want to see what you lot think down in the comment section below. And there's definitely ways you can improve all of these teams. There's no right or wrong answer. We'll stick to this kind of team here. Let's actually make a few changes. So this is what I'd probably go for at this moment in time. I think Greenwood will start in game week 4. Not completely sure about that. And if he does, yeah, let's just go for White then. Why not? Yeah, we can go for something like this. And maybe instead of Dyer, potentially could go for Marçal actually. And yeah, this looks pretty decent. Maybe instead of White you can go for another 4.5 million defender. I'm all ears in terms of what you would say there, but you could go for something like this. We've got 0.1 million remaining. Could upgrade Williams to Livramento. That is definitely something we could do, but I'd actually be pretty happy wildcarding to something like this, to be honest. Yeah, I think that looks pretty decent, but of course you may have a different opinion, and I'm willing to see what you lot are saying. Let's see. Well, a lot of comments have been coming in, and yeah, just for anyone, don't spam the chat, please. Otherwise, you'll be put on timeout. Will Bruno become a bad player with Ronaldo and United? I don't think so. I still think he's going to be really good, just not 250 to 300 points good, although I could be wrong about that. Best 6 million midfielder? Great question. I I would say Benrahma, but because it's 6 million and under, I'd probably go for Damari Gray. Podence will replace Trincao. Trincao is always on loan anyway, right? He could be, yeah. Podence is coming back. Trincao could actually be a rotation risk. I would expect Traore to be more nailed than Trincao. Diaz is the most nailed outfield City player. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not even just an opinion, Kings. I think it's a fact. Diaz definitely is until City kind of wrap up the league, although it might not be the same this season compared to last. I think Gundogan is fairly nailed. Then there's Grealish. Who else? Edison. Yeah, but no one really wants to get Edison at this moment in time. And Ferran Torres, some people are saying he is. I don't think he is, but potentially. Hopefully. If he is, I'm definitely getting him in. Best 4 million defender is Brandon Williams because Livramento's 4.1, Duffy's 4.2. So it's probably Brandon Williams. Should I change anyone? My current wildcard team is Sanchez, Steele. Oh yeah, you continue to hear Shaw, Semedo, Trent, White, Williams, Salah, Jota, Greenwood, Rafinha, Brownhill, Jimenez, Lukaku and Antonio. Very solid team. Trying to pick out some weaknesses here. No, that's actually pretty fine to be honest. Yeah, that's pretty decent. You could maybe go for Benrahma instead of Rafinha and then bring in Rafinha in Game Week 5 or afterwards. That's a good team. Jimenez, look, like he's got very good fixtures. I think he could do the business, but yeah, he's someone I'd be a bit kind of worried about. Yeah, I prefer Traore over Trincao, FPL shorts, but yeah, don't spam the chat, please. Jota or Torres, I'm planning to wildcard on Game Week 7. Great question. I'd probably go with Jota, if possible, because he's just got better fixtures, kind of long term. Torres has some pretty tough ones coming up. Yeah, if I had enough money, I'd probably go from Torres to Jota in this. But yeah, there are different ways to go about it. Maybe I could downgrade Trent as well. Meslier or Sarr in goal? Probably Jose Sarr, but Meslier before the beginning of the season, he's someone I actually was really interested in getting. Triple captain Pookie? No way, Johnny Rick. But then again, someone actually mentioned captaining Pookie the other day and he scored, didn't he, against Leicester. So Jota, yep, Jota's a great option, but you can't have everyone. If you have Greenwood, you probably can't get Jota. But yeah, instead of Greenwood, you can go for Jota, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know, I think for Game Week 4 in particular, I'd prefer having Greenwood over Jota. But long term, yeah, I think the Portuguese international is probably someone worth keeping over Greenwood. But I'm not sure. It's literally 50-50 with that. You can go for either one of them, Jota or Greenwood. It's down to personal preference. Dan James gets on the end of long balls. Yeah, with Leeds at the moment, I want to wait and see. I think Rafinha and Bamford, because of what they've done in the past, I've got an eye on them. With Daniel James, he needs to kind of prove himself first. Do you think Torres will keep his place after KDB comes back? I think he will still start most games, and by that I mean over half of them, but I'm not sure about starting every single game like he's been doing so far. So KDB could actually take his place from time to time in the centre-forward role. Marçal or Semedo? I prefer Marçal. Will Tomiyasu be more attacking than Ben White for the same price? That's a good point, actually. Maybe he is someone actually worth considering. Ben White didn't get any goal contributions last season, so Tomiyasu could actually be the one. I'm not sure. Will Greenwood play? I think he will in Game Week 4. He's not someone I could guarantee will play every single game or at least start. Opinions on starting 11: Sanchez, Shaw, Soufal, Reece James, Jota, Salah, Rafinha, Gilmour, Lukaku, Ronaldo, Antonio. Look, it's a good team, but Gilmour in your starting 11 is just not something I'd advocate because it also means you probably have a relatively weak bench. Of course, it's a really good team on paper. You've got Lukaku, Ronaldo, Salah, but yeah, I probably would. I'd try to invest more money into Gilmour and upgrade him. He's someone you want to have as your fifth midfielder on your bench, not really there. And Reece James is suspended, of course. Ronaldo has 5 days quarantine, so will start training out Wednesday and has only played one full game after June. Yeah, but I mean, you saw him the other day. He's an animal. I think he will start. Of course, you might have a point. He might be a rotation risk, but he should play. I think Amati's better than Williams. Look, so do I, but the problem with Amati is he's not going to be kind of nailed long term, but for the time being, so long as Amati continues to start, of course, yeah, he's definitely a better option than Williams. Dan James, I'd need to see more, mate. Yeah, with Leeds, Rafinha or Bamford. Do you play Sky Fantasy Football every year? I make one and give up by 4,036 overall in the first 3 game weeks has made me carry on. Yeah, I do. I actually haven't checked my rank, but I've been doing pretty decent, especially the first 2 game weeks. I kind of play it casually. I don't always remember to make transfers and stuff, but I have played it. I've got some good ranks in the past, but I'll be honest, I don't remember them because I haven't paid too much attention like I do with FPL. Alonso will have a great season, must have it. Well, you don't have to have him. That's the thing. You can go for Christensen, Rudiger, even Reece James when he comes back. Alonso can rotate with Chilwell. I'm not sure why Chilwell's not starting, by the way. He didn't play in the Euros. He might have some persisting... Jesus. Voice crack. Might have a persisting injury or something, but... Yeah, I don't know why Alonso's starting all the games. Dylan, don't you think that Ronaldo could potentially start from the bench, considering Oli has taken his time to bring in Varane and Sancho into the team, even with their fine fitness? Very good point you make, Ashish, but it's Ronaldo. That's the way I see it, and he always wants to play. Of course, with Juventus, he was benched quite regularly last season, and even with Madrid, to kind of save him for the Champions League, but I think he will start. That doesn't mean he definitely will. Kieran says, if I have 2 free transfers, should I hold my wildcard? This is the thing. It ultimately depends what your transfers will be, but I'd probably say, yeah, you don't have to use it, and I'd probably hold it. Game week 7, I think is a very good time to wildcard, or game week 8, and if not, game week 14, kind of targeting the kind of main fixture swings for some of these big teams. Simon F says, would you wildcard if you had Tsimikas, White, Barnes, Ings, and Sakiri in the squad? With the rest, I'm happy, even though I'd like to make the Bruno Ronaldo switch. I don't think you have to, because White can do well in game week 4 and even in some of the upcoming games for Arsenal. Tsimikas, you can just have on your bench. Of course, if you want Jota, that's a bit of a difficult situation. Barnes is a bit of a kind of frustrating one. I thought he'd do really well at the beginning of the season. Ings, he's been doing really well, but he's got very tough fixtures coming up. So I can see why you'd want a wildcard, but I'd probably try to hold off if possible. And yeah, of course, you also want to do the Bruno Ronaldo switch. So you're looking at 6-7 transfers. I'd always say, if you're not making 7 transfers or more, then maybe reconsider using the wildcard. Wildcard options: Raya, Digne, Cancelo, Tierney, Livramento, Williams, Salah, Torres, Sarr, Odegaard, Sissoko, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Antonio. Yeah, Digne is an interesting one. Good fixtures until game week 12. Just got a clean sheet. Still don't trust Everton defensively, but he is someone to consider. Raya has been the best 4.5 million goalkeeper so far. Cancelo has been playing all the games, and yeah, he's just really good when he starts. Tierney, I'm not too sure about. I probably prefer White. Yeah, but yeah, the others you mentioned are really good. Odegaard, I need to see more from him, and I don't know if he's going to be getting, consistent attacking output. But yeah, all the other suggestions you make are really good. Jota or Torres. Long term, I'd probably say Jota, but Torres at this moment in time is maybe looking like a better asset. What about the Spurs defense? Well, this is the thing. You can't have everyone. And you can go for maybe Dyer or Tanganga instead of Marçal. Just bear in mind with Tanganga, he might lose his spot to Emerson Royale. That could happen. But maybe what you could do, instead of having White, you can go for a Spurs defender. But in terms of this team anyway, it would probably mean downgrading someone else. But you can always go for a Spurs defender. I wouldn't double up on the defence though. That's just kind of my opinion about it. So let's see. If we have Eric Dyer... Imagine go for Eric Dyer in defence, but yeah, I mean, he's been doing pretty well so far. Minus 0.2, yeah, not really ideal. I can just go to Williams. Yeah, let's go for Williams. And I think we're 0.1 million off. Yep. So where are we going to find that extra money from? Well, if you have any suggestions, let me know down in the comment section. Maybe instead of Marçal, just go for Ben White, and that's it. But I would rather have Marçal potentially over Ben White. I'm not sure about that though. Yeah, with Arsenal, I know they were awful against City, but none of their new signings really, apart from Odegaard, featured. And he was actually in the squad last season. So let's just go for Ben White. Let's show a bit of faith in Arsenal. Oh my God. Yeah, you could go for something like this instead. If not, remember, you can go for Marçal. I think he's one of the best options at 4.5 million. Or Cody, who's a bit more nailed, I'd say, than Marçal. When should I use my wildcard for Ronaldo? I wouldn't use a wildcard just for Ronaldo. That's my opinion. I'd only use the wildcard if you want to make 6 transfers or more. If you can, just take a -4 or just 2 free transfers for Ronaldo. Game week 7, by the way, or 8 is looking really good. Or game week 14. Don't you have a Telegram group or WhatsApp group? I don't have any. But of course, if you do sign up for the channel as a member, you can have access to a Discord, if you obviously know what that is. But yeah, Discord, I can make a channel there, and you can talk there as well. CR7, what is the question about CR7? That's the thing. Torres or Jota? Yeah, once again, I'd say Jota long term, but Torres at the moment is looking really good. Who is the best midfielder under 8 million? I'd say it's definitely a toss-up between Jota, Greenwood and Torres. I couldn't split them. I'd say one of those three. How long is Firmino out for? I'm not sure exactly how much, but it could just be a couple of weeks. And even then, when he comes back, he's going to be sharing minutes with Jota both in the Champions League and the Premier League. Are you wildcarding? I'm not, but what I'm showing on screen are different alternatives to my best wildcard team video for anyone who is considering using the chip. And of course, I encourage any of you to kind of make your own suggestions down in the comment section. Marçal or Cody? I think if you want security of starts, go for Cody, but Marçal is a bit more attacking. Good to see your channel growing. Keep your head up, brother. Thank you, Dennis Ray. Really appreciate it, and good to see you once again. Tomiyasu or White on a wild card? Look, Tomiyasu could be one to consider, actually. I haven't actually not even looked at him, but he could... Wait, let's actually check his ownership. So, Tomiyasu, 4.5 million. Decent. Whoa! 0.1% ownership. Damn, so some people have been getting him in, and he's just got... There's no picture at the moment. It will be coming soon. Yeah, maybe Tomiyasu. But yeah, Ben White is 4.4 million, remember. He's slightly cheaper than Tomiyasu, but... yeah, I mean, maybe he's worth the extra 0.1 million. Damn. Okay, one to keep an eye on. Force on Odegaard. I just think for a little bit more, you can get Demarai Gray, who's probably going to get more attacking returns, but someone to consider. Is Kane and Lukaku up top a good move? I think so, but I'd rather have Ronaldo at this moment in time than Kane. And even then, one premium is enough up front, and just have Salah in midfield and spread the funds across the rest of your team. That's just my opinion on it. You can go for 2 premiums up front. Are Eric Dyer and Sarr good punts? I think Sarr's a good punt, I guess. I think he's a good option in general. Eric Dyer is decent. He's not someone you want to start every single week, in my opinion, especially with some of the tougher fixtures coming up for Spurs, but he's decent. Do you think Ronaldo definitely starts or not sure? Not definitely starts, but I'm confident he will. So I'd say I'm 80% confident he'll start. That doesn't mean he definitely will, so don't hold me to that. Is it okay to go for Tierney? It is okay, but I'd rather have Ben White or even Tomiyasu. Thoughts on Sarr and Jimenez? I like Sarr a lot, actually, around 6 million. Jimenez, someone to look out for. But the reason why I'm not going for him is because Calvert-Lewin, if he's fit, is a better option. Antonio, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Kane. I just think you can go for others, but... other than those I just listed, maybe Jimenez is kind of the best of the rest. Allen instead of Brownhill, potentially. I've seen a lot of people going for him. He just doesn't really offer too much attacking for Allen, and it will be typical for him to score in the next game week now that I've said that. Already got Marçal. Which 4.5 million defender should I get? That's a tough one because Tanganga could lose his spot. If you back him to continue to start, then go for him. Otherwise, Davinson Sanchez, he's going to be missing game week 4. So I'd probably be looking at maybe either Cody, but you've got Marçal, maybe an Arsenal defender, Ben White or Tomiyasu, if you back them, or Ayling. So yeah, I'd probably say Tomiyasu, White or Ayling, one of those 3. Dyer to Tanganga. Yeah, this is the thing though, Tanganga might not start, but of course, if he does, then yeah, maybe he's slightly better value, I guess. Traore instead of Benrahma saves you 0.2. That's true. That's a good point. I'll be honest though, I prefer Benrahma over Traore, and I probably prefer Sarr and Demarai Gray. But Traore is a good option, and a lot of people are actually keen on him. He's been talked about so much on my channel. He might actually end up doing the goods. Damn, yeah, a lot of people are recommending Traore instead of Benrahma. Fair enough. You could swap Brownhill to Mendy. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of 4.5 million options. The problem is, are any of them good? Not really, in my opinion. How are you bringing in Ronaldo, with a wild card or -4? I could just make 2 free transfers, get Torres in for Bruno, and I can get Ronaldo in for Ings, just for 2 free transfers. The only hit that I could possibly do is if I get Jota in, and that'd require Tsimikas being upgraded potentially to maybe a 4.5 million defender. But I'm not too keen on that, if I'm being completely honest. Will Jota start games? I think so. I think he will. Not all of them, but he should. Especially with Firmino out for the time being. Only one United player? Well, yeah, but this is the thing. You can't have everyone. And actually, just before, when people were recommending Jota, I had Greenwood in. And you can go for him. A lot of people think that Greenwood and Ronaldo won't coexist in the same team. I think they can. I think it can be Sancho on the left, Greenwood on the right, Ronaldo up top. But yeah, it's up to you. You can always go for Luke Shaw as well. I mean, I have different drafts here. And in one of them, in this one, you've got Luke Shaw right there. It's just ultimately up to you. With Luke Shaw, in terms of looking at the long term, he's not someone you'd probably want to have during the tougher fixtures. But then again, United actually kept a lot of clean sheets I'd say against the top 6 last season. Lukaku or Ronaldo? I think Lukaku can do extremely well in Game Week 4. But I'd probably say Ronaldo for the time being. For the next 3 game weeks as a whole, Ronaldo's better. And then downgrade him to Lukaku for Game Week 7. Is this your current team? It isn't. My current team is this. Yeah, it's pretty poor, isn't it? But that's my current team, and I'm thinking of getting Ferran Torres and Ronaldo in for Bruno Fernandes and Danny Ings. How many points can we take as a hit? I mean, up to you really, but I'd say try to avoid -8s or above, especially -12s. I'd definitely not take a -12. Calvert-Lewin has a broken toe. Definite worry, no? It is a worry, but I still think he can make it for Game Week 4. That's why I'm just going to be waiting for the kind of news in the press conferences before deciding on him. I was actually thinking before Ronaldo joined the Premier League to just move Danny Ings on to Calvert-Lewin in Game Week 4. Might not even happen now, to be honest. If wildcarding in Game Week 7, do you think Torres is the best 7 to 8 million midfielder that allows you to get Ronaldo? He's one of the best, and he's someone I'm considering myself, but he's not essential. I'm going to have to keep saying this because, obviously his performance against Arsenal makes him seem like he's absolutely amazing, but he can still be rotated, and Pep Guardiola is just... I don't even want to talk about him, to be honest. Smith Rowe or Gray? Definitely Gray, mate. Ings plus Ronaldo or Fernandes plus DCL, Game Weeks 4 and 5? Great question. I'd probably say Fernandes and DCL, actually, as a duo. Jimenez, free transfer, great option, but I think DCL and Antonio are better options. Then again, DCL could be injured. Feeling pressure to take Lukaku right now because his price will rise tomorrow. Yeah, I get what you mean, but I still probably wouldn't go for it. Of course, if it prices you out from that move, it is a bit frustrating, but I try to just forget about the price rises and falls. Good option to go Bamford instead of DCL. If DCL is injured, then yeah, I think it's a good option, but I'm not too keen on Bamford as I probably was before, and if anything, you can always wait for Game Week 5 to bring Bamford in. He is facing Liverpool after all in Game Week 4. For the wildcard team, you are showing swap Benrahma to Traore and White to Marçal, assuming you have faith in Triple Wolves. Brilliant stream as always, mate. Great suggestions there, Josh. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'd probably consider... Let's actually do that. So, Dyer, White. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal are terrible, aren't they? I'll be honest, I just can't bring myself to get Traore in for Benrahma. I actually would rather have Benrahma. But yeah, cheers for the suggestions. Yeah, it's a tough one, you can't fit everyone in, but that's some good choices there. Let's put Traore in. A lot of people have been calling for him, and this is what the people have decided. I'll be honest, I'm not completely convinced by him, but maybe he'll finally get his shooting boots on and get some assists. And there we go. We've got double Wolves at the moment. And let's see how it is, but yeah, I probably still would rather have Benrahma. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Thank you for the suggestions, mate. I'm leaving Lukaku for this week, then get Ronaldo the next. Yeah, that's a great choice. Although Ronaldo can outperform him, Lukaku can still easily do well against Villa, and Martinez actually might miss that game potentially. Although I think there was this thing where Argentina play 3 qualifiers. He might miss the third one against Bolivia and return early, and that will allow him to make Game Week 4. But I think it might be too late, actually. So might miss Game Week 4, make it back for Game Week 5. If Martinez misses that, I think Chelsea could run riot. Best 6 million, not 6.1 or 5.9. Probably Traore, I guess. Everyone's saying that, so I'd probably go for him. Bamford or DCL? DCL, but DCL is a concern in terms of an injury. Sarr or Traore? Great question. I prefer Sarr, honestly. But Traore's got great fixtures and underlying stats. For nows, worth considering for sure. There's also Benrahma and all these other players that West Ham have, like Bowen. I think Bowen is seriously underperforming, but for nows is a decent option. Do we have anything on DCL's injury? Apparently he has a broken toe, and he also had something else, like a thigh injury or something like that, a muscle strain. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, we have nothing new really. We have to wait until Rafa's press conference. Mendy is 4.4, fair enough. Let's actually take a look. I've been actually checking these kind of budget options. Yeah, he is, but obviously he's not going to be playing. You want to have, if possible, just the 4.5 million option who plays, so you can get a 1 or 2 pointer when obviously possible. Is Arteta nailed, or will there be rotation? I think there could be rotation, mate, especially if he loses to Norwich. How long is the Firmino injury? Yeah, once again, I think it's a few weeks, but nothing's completely confirmed yet. Alonso or Christensen? I think Alonso is a better option if he starts. The problem I have is I think Chua will come into the mix when. I'm not so sure, so I'd probably just say Christensen. That's a personal opinion there. Everton has very good schedule for the 3 matches. In my opinion, Coleman's very good for 5 million. Great suggestion. The reason why I don't have him in personally is because I don't trust Everton defence. DCR has a broken toe that could be 4 weeks to months out. I mean, I'm not sure about months, but yeah, it could be a few weeks out. Once again, it's just something we have to consider and wait on. And if not, maybe go for Jimenez instead of Calvert-Lewin, or use that money maybe from the midfield or somewhere else to upgrade Calvert-Lewin to a Lukaku. Having Lukaku and Ronaldo for Game Week 4 could actually be a great differential. Do you think Christensen will keep his place? I think he can, and I think he will for Game Week 4. Long term, when Champions League comes into the mix, I think there'll be a lot of rotation. Tuchel loves to rotate his team, so it's going to be someone who's going to be in and out, so you want to have good defensive depth to cover for him. If you had the money and Liverpool slot, would you go Jota over Torres? I actually probably would, Alpha. I probably would. Torres and Jota are both rotation risks, but for the time being, I think Jota with Firmino out is actually a really good option and should be fairly nailed. When should we get Torres and Ronaldo? Before Torres price rises or before the game start? I'm of the opinion that price rises aren't that important, so I'd say before the game start, just in case there's another injury. You don't want to be forcing yourself into hits or a wild card. Fornals or Benrahma? I'd personally prefer Benrahma, but I don't think he's going to keep up the kind of stuff he was doing in the first 2 game weeks. Hopefully he does, but yeah, I'm not too optimistic. Will Bruno self-isolate like Ronaldo after coming back from international duty in Azerbaijan? Very good point, actually. I'm not sure if Bruno's actually returning early like Ronaldo did, but yeah, he will have to isolate when he comes back, I'm pretty sure, unless he's vaccinated, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure which players are or not. I don't even know if Ronaldo is, but yeah, it's something worth considering. I think he should still self-isolate, and he could, it could actually have some repercussions for Game Week 4, but obviously we don't know anything yet. Can Traore outscore Torres over the next 4? I think he could, especially if Torres is benched in 1 or 2 of them. But if you're asking me, I prefer Torres. In the long run, which formation is better, 3-4-3 or 4-3-3? Ultimately, it doesn't matter. It's about the players you have, not the formation. But thinking of the players possible in those 2 formations, I prefer 3-4-3. Is this your wild card for Game Week 4, Dylan? It isn't. It's just something that I would consider. And I've got Traore in there, by the way, by popular demand. He's not someone I'm too keen on. I'd probably rather have Benrahma. I'd want to have Dyer and Marçal if possible. But I'd probably have to have White in order to get Benrahma in for Traore. Jota could be in there for Greenwood, for example. But this is something I'd wildcard to probably in Game Week 4. DCL is an injury concern, so we'd have to wait and see there. But I could go for something like this. Evening, Dylan. Would bringing in White when he drops to 4.3 million be a good idea? Will he play straight away from illness? I think so. He has plenty of time to recover. Yeah, and I think Arsenal need him, really. They need their best defenders back, same with Gabriel. So I think he will be, as soon as he's basically fit and available to start, he will. Ings plus Tony plus Bruno, Ronaldo, DCL and Antonio minus 4 points this week. Those look like great transfers, to be honest, but I wouldn't make them Vincent just yet because DCL could be injured, or at least out for Game Week 4. Please rate my team: Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, Soufal, Salah, Torres, Greenwood, Jota, Benrahma, Lukaku, Antonio, Bench, Steele, Ayling, Amati, Obafemi. Thanks. Really good team. Amati, obviously keep an eye on him, and if Vestergaard's coming back, and he could potentially be a problem, or at least just not play as you want. Obafemi, 4.5 million options, there's not really anyone, so that's fair enough. It's a good team. I mean, looking at the starting 11 in particular, very solid. Yeah, I mean, if you want to give me a rating, if you want me to give you a rating, I'd probably say an 8 out of 10. To be honest, I've been giving a lot of teams 8 out of 10, but I like that midfield a lot, actually. Salah, Torres, Greenwood, Jota, and Benrahma. Yeah, that looks exceptional. Of course, there could be some weeks where Torres, Greenwood, and Jota miss out. That could be a bit of a concern, but that's a really good team. I like it, Paolo. Hey mate, great to see the growth of the channel. I want to bring in CR7, but just holding it off until the final day because there are 2 other transfers involved. When will his price increase? I think it will start to increase after the Game Week 4 deadline. I think he should be fine and he won't go up in price as far as I'm aware. If obviously I'm wrong, feel free to correct me on that. Thoughts on this team? Sanchez, Tierney, Marcel, Trent, Torres, Rafinha, Jota, Salah, Antonio, CR7, DCL. Fantastic team. Tierney I'm not too convinced about. I think you could do better potentially for his price, but maybe he's a great differential across these very easy games on paper for Arsenal. They're definitely not going to make them easy, but that's a really good team. And Rafinha's good long term, and that midfield once again very good. Wildcard now or 7? I'm of the opinion of wildcarding in Game Week 7 or maybe even later. So I'd say Game Week 7. Why didn't it go up so far? I'm guessing you're talking about, Ronaldo. Yeah, he's pretty much frozen because he's just come into the game. So his price can't increase. He has to play a game first, basically. It's pretty much like, for example, when we start the FPL season, there are no price rises until after the Game Week 1 deadline. Is it okay to trust Arsenal players? Look, I'd probably just stick to 1 max, even during their good fixture run. If they show some promise, then maybe go for 2. I wouldn't be tripling up on them for sure. But a Ben White, a Tomiyasu, maybe just one of these kind of cheap budget options to add squad depth are fine. I wouldn't be trusting Aubameyang, Pepe, and all these other kind of more expensive picks, to be honest. Calvert-Lewin injury news. Well, apparently he has a broken toe, but we have nothing new yet, and we have to wait and see with that. We're going to know more by next week, but so long, just assuming he's available, he's in my team really, whether it's on a wild card. In terms of making free transfers, I might not even go for him because I might get Ronaldo instead, but otherwise, DCL will be coming into my team. Greenwood or Jota, DCL or Jimenez. I prefer DCL so long as he's available, and Greenwood or Jota. Long term, maybe Jota's better, but I prefer Greenwood at this moment in time. It's a very difficult one. It's a 50-50 Greenwood and Jota. They're both very similar in terms of price, in terms of kind of position in the team. They could easily, 1 minute be completely nailed and the next be out of the team. If you buy a player at 56 and they go up 57 in your team, do you get the extra 0.1 million? Please let me know. A player has to go up by 0.2 million in value in order for you to gain 0.1 million in terms of selling price. So hopefully that makes it clear. So for example, with Tsimikas, let's actually look at him in my normal team. So he started at 4 million. He went up to 4.2. Let's say that he goes down to 4.1 million. It doesn't matter because right now his selling price for me is 4.1 million, even when he's 4.2. So by him going down in price by 0.1, I literally lose no money. So hopefully that explains it. Basically, every time a player rises by 0.2 million, they rise by 0.1 million in their selling price. So yeah, that's pretty much their policy there. Is Torres a good pick? Of course he is. He's not essential, and you can go for other players around 6 or 7 million, but he's very good. If he starts, he's, in my opinion, one of the best value options in the game. Is Lukaku and Ronaldo good additions to my team in Game Week 4? Definitely. I think they're 2 of the best captaincy options this week. Just be careful about kind of jeopardizing the rest of your team. Shaw or a Wolves defender? And if so, which Wolves player? I probably still prefer Shaw because you can also potentially save that money and in Game Week 7 move him on to a Chelsea defender. So I'd probably go for him. In terms of a Wolves defender, I'd probably say Marcel or Cody. Cheap and fairly nailed. I think Cody's more nailed than Marcel, but once again, more attacking threat by Marcel. Torres or Benrahma? Possibly Torres. Why do you want to wildcard in Game Week 7? I'm not saying I'm going to wildcard in Game Week 7 or that it's definitively the best time to wildcard. It's ultimately a team-dependent question, but I prefer it compared to now because there are some big fixture swings. For example, in Game Week 7, Chelsea start to have fantastic fixtures all the way until Game Week 11, whereas United, they have some very poor fixtures from that period all the way until Game Week 12 or 13. So I would probably recommend at least considering Game Week 7 or 8 before, deciding if you're going to wildcard now in that time or maybe further down the line in Game Week 14 or somewhere else. Thoughts on Gray? I think he's the best option at his price, but he's not someone that I'm going to be bringing in at this moment in time, I think. Torres or Benrahma? I prefer Torres. Pogba or Fernandes? I still prefer Fernandes, but I think Ronaldo at the same price or similar price is better. Wildcard in Game Week 7 or 8? Either one, really. Game Week 7 is the beginning of Chelsea's run. I think Game Week 8 is also a very good opportunity, but I'd probably lean towards 7. There's not much in it. There's not much difference in my opinion. Pogba or Greenwood? I prefer Greenwood. Why not Kilman over Marcel or Cody? because he's also 4.5 million, and I think he's slightly less nailed, especially compared to Cody. Marcel has more attacking threat. Any Firmino injury updates? None really, but he should be back fairly soon according to the kind of latest reports from a week or two ago, but I'm not completely sure about that. Should I wildcard in Game Week 7 or save for later? I can save for later and only take one hit, but not sure when would be good to do later. Yeah, I mean, I think Game Week 7 or 8 is a very good time to use it, and if not, Game Week 14 potentially, or just sometimes it's kind of good to see how things go, have an idea of when you could wildcard, but not be completely settled on it. So at this moment in time, I'd highlight 7 and 8, potentially Game Week 14, but there could also be another game week where it comes into play. For example, if there's fixture suspensions or double game weeks and stuff like that, that could also be a really good time. Of course, with the kind of double game weeks and stuff, we're mainly looking at the second half of the season and the second wildcard for that. But you never know. Last season, a lot of people held their wildcard until late, and it was, I'd say, maybe a reasonable success because of all the kind of fixture congestion and fixture clashes and rescheduling that happened because of COVID. Thanks, Dylan, for the last answer. Do you reckon that Jimenez can play in Game Week 4 with potential FIFA sanctions? That's a really good point, Wingel. Yeah, Mexico were one of the nations that kind of filed a complaint and want, the players to kind of be, I'd say, banned, I guess, for 5 days. So the clubs suffer from that. Yeah, that's actually a good point. And either way of Jimenez, I want to wait and see some consistency from him first before kind of going for him. And let's actually change this. Yeah, Traore, not for me, but of course, if you want to go for Traore, go for him. Don't be put off because I'm not too keen on him at this moment in time. 0.1 million. Ooh, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's a tough one. Yeah, instead of Eric Dyer, let's show some... let's go for Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu or Ben White. Yeah, this is... Something like this I'd wildcard to. I'm not too confident in Arsenal defence, but yeah, something like this looks decent. And another reason why I'm not too keen on wildcarding now, and I prefer doing it later, I think we'll have even more information. We'll know more about the league and how it's going. It's very early on right now. 3 game weeks is very difficult to judge. Things can change from now up until Game Week 7 and even afterwards. And I think you're going to have a bit more information to make better decisions in terms of who you have. Whenever I've wildcarded around this time period, I just kind of immediately regret some of the kind of decisions I make, and I'm already kind of undoing my team, maybe taking a few hits. So I prefer maybe having a few more weeks of data and information. But yeah, this is what I'd wildcard to roughly in Game Week 4 at the moment. Of course, there could be a few changes here. But yeah, I mean, it's not bad in my opinion. Of course, you can think differently. Who's the best out of Pukki, Jesus, Jimenez, Bamford, DCL for the next 3 game weeks? Definitely DCL, but the problem I have is his injury concern. But I'd definitely say DCL. And even beyond the 3 game week period, looking towards Game Week 12, fantastic fixtures for Everton. Mount and another Chelsea defender or just Lukaku? Ooh, good question. I mean, I'd rather have Lukaku and a Chelsea defender or 2 rather than Mount, in my opinion. But yeah, Chelsea defenders, in my opinion, should be the top of your priority when you're looking at the London club. Lukaku or Arnold? Great question. I'd probably say Arnold because there's not really too many replacements for him. With Lukaku, you can always go to Ronaldo or maybe someone else like DCL. If anyone needs 0.1 million, Mendy's a 4.4 million midfielder. Great shout, of course. Just bear in mind that he is unavailable to play at this moment in time. Sorry, why not Pogba? Well, I don't think he's going to keep up the assists that he's doing at the moment. I could be wrong. I just prefer Greenwood. I think he's offering more consistency. Bruno Fernandes is still a better option, and then Ronaldo as well. You have Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, even Varane at the back. Pogba's a good option. You can go for him. He's a differential, but I don't think he's going to continue this streak that he's doing. Taking a -4 hit to bring Ronaldo or using the wild card, I'd probably prefer to take a hit rather than using a wild card just for one player. Never trust Liverpool hired PR people. Fair enough. I'm assuming you're talking about the Firmino news. Greenwood or Jota? I prefer Greenwood slightly, but Jota long term could be better. It's a 50-50. Up to you who you prefer. I like both of them. I wish I had both of them, and Torres and Salah and Benrahma, but you can't have everyone. If you had Son, would you drop him to fund going for DCL on a front 3? If you have Ronaldo and Salah already, then yes, but otherwise, maybe you could just keep Son, but I prefer DCL over Son in terms of value offered. Lukaku or Ronaldo or Salah as captain? Ronaldo, I'd say, and then I'd probably go for... I have a good feeling about Lukaku this week. I'd probably say him second and Salah third, but they're all great captaincy shouts. Pinnock, good option. He's been one of the highest scoring defenders this season, so he is a good option. But the reason why I'm not looking at any Brentford players at this moment in time is long-term, very poor fixtures. Of course, for the next 2 or 3, I think Brentford could do really well. But yeah, the tougher fixtures, the ceiling will be low at least. So even if they do keep a clean sheet or, get a goal or an assist occasionally, it won't be enough. You could maybe get better value elsewhere. Thoughts about Digne and Reguilon? Look, I like Reguilon. He's a bit of a bonus points magnet at times, but the reason why I'd probably prefer a 4.5 or 4.6 million defender from Spurs is because I just think they offer better value. They can get a similar amount of points. And with Spurs, it's Son and Kane who tend to get the bonus points. So Reguilon might sometimes be limited to 1 bonus points max, really. And around 5 million, you could go for Soufal, even Tierney if you want, Christensen, Marçal. And yeah, as for Digne, could be good until game week 12, but I don't trust Everton defensively, and I still prefer Luke Shaw, Christensen, Rudiger, Trent Alexander-Arnold, even Laporte. I'd say Diaz. Yeah, so not really too keen on Digne. Thank you for the super chat, 2ROS, the first super chat I've had. Thank you very much, mate. Like I said, you don't have to do this, but really appreciate it, mate. People are sleeping on Pukki. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about Pukki, actually. I mean, look, maybe we are sleeping on him. Norwich they're actually going to have some good fixtures coming up. Maybe you're right. I mean, there's him, there's Adam Armstrong, and there's Ivan Toney around his price. But yeah, you know what? I'll keep an eye on Pukki, because just like Traore, he's someone I'm not really kind of convinced about, but everyone keeps mentioning him. So, he's someone I will be keeping an eye on. How many wildcards do we get? We get 2. We get 1 for the first half of the season, and then we get another after game week 18 or 19, I believe. Thank you very much, by the way, to RS once again for the super chat. Really appreciate it. You get 1 wild card each half of the season. Exactly, Rory. Who would you say is good for Man United? I mean, I pretty much listed them just now, probably just after you made that comment. But yeah, I'd say Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes is still really good. Greenwood, Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka. I think they're the standouts, and possibly Varane. The reason why I don't say Maguire is because he tends to get yellow cards, and that kind of limits his potential for bonus points. But yeah, I'd say those lot. £3 meal deal times Dylan's stream is an elite combo, says Josh. Cheers, mate. I mean, well, that's a very funny comment. Surprised there's no Rafinha after the Liverpool game. The run of fixtures is good. Well, actually, wait, is he in the other teams? Well, no, I had him in this team instead of Greenwood, and I just showed a different way to go about it. So what I had was, instead of Tomiyasu, I believe, or one of these 4.5 million defenders, you can go to Luke Shaw instead and then use them as a placeholder for another Chelsea defender, and then have Rafinha instead of Greenwood. So you could go for that. Rafinha's a good medium to long-term option. I'm just not too convinced by Leeds at the moment, but I think they will pick up a bit of form. Do you get unlimited transfers in January transfer window? I wish, Rory, but no, you don't. You only get unlimited transfers with your wild cards, and also when you start the season. Got 2 transfers, can either go Ronaldo and bring up 8 million. My defence is Soufal, Shaw and Amati, so may need to take a -4 for a Wolves defender, or I can just do Soufal and Wolves defender. Great question. Yeah, I just... that's tough. Yeah, I probably would try to avoid taking a -4 for a Wolves defender. You can always wait until the next game week. And also in game week 4, you have a bit more information from Wolves, rather than taking a hit, and they might not even keep the clean sheet in game week 4. Greenwood is a must-have till Rashford is back, in my opinion. I don't know about must-have, but he's a very good option, and he should continue to start. He's been scoring so many goals. People forget this. I mean, it'd be very harsh to bench him, but who knows. Are Wolves being overhyped? I don't know about overhyped, but a lot of people are jumping the gun with 2 or 3. I think it's best to wait. Have 1 potentially. I wouldn't be going with triple up in Wolves at the moment. But of course, sometimes doing these triple ups and going a bit out of the blue, being a bit unorthodox, works because you're ahead of the curve. So I don't know about overhyped, but maybe we should be a bit more cautious. And yeah, no problem, mate. Rafinha or Cody for this game week? Great question. I'd probably say Cody, but Rafinha could still do something against Liverpool. Who is better between Ronaldo and Salah for the captaincy? I'd say Ronaldo, just about. Torres is a transfer out waiting to happen, potentially. potentially. I didn't show him my best game week 4 wildcard team, so to kind of give him a bit of credit, he is in here. You don't have to go for him. You can go for Rafinha, who potentially in the long term is a better option. Do you ever get bored? Oh, that's an interesting question. Since discussion topics don't change during the breaks unless there's a serious injury. Not really. I mean, not in the streams anyway, or in the comments and stuff like that. I find them pretty entertaining. There's different viewpoints and transfer plans coming in all the time. And there's always kind of some different news that comes about. But yeah, maybe in terms of like looking at the news recently, yeah, maybe it's kind of the same old topics, but I wouldn't say in the live chat. I've got Sanchez, Varane, Dyer, Tsimikas, Rafinha, Greenwood, Salah, Benrahma, Antonio, Ronaldo, and Lukaku. Looks okay. Looks more than okay, sorry. It looks really good. Tsimikas, in terms of starting, he's not going to be starting, so I would try to upgrade your defense there, but the rest looks fine. Antonio and Bruno or Ronaldo and Benrahma. Oh, that's tough, man. I wouldn't want to go without Antonio, and I prefer him over Benrahma, but I prefer Ronaldo over... That's tough. I'd probably say Antonio and Bruno, to be honest. I might be wrong about that. Take a hit to get Ronaldo, or on free United to have to remove Bruno. Could bank the transfer, watch the Newcastle game, and then do it for free. Oof. Okay, look, if you're thinking of captaining him for Game Week 4 against Newcastle, you're confident of him starting and doing really well, then take the hit. Yeah. What do you think about Gray? Best 5.6 million or under midfielder. Not someone I'd be getting in myself or taking a hit for, but he's a good option, definitely. Traore or Harrison? Maybe Traore. I'll give Traore a bit of credit there. Hey Dylan, how are you, mate? I just joined your stream. Are you planning to wildcard? I ain't. This is just some wildcard tips and some teams and different players to consider. And I would wildcard to something similar to this if I was now, but I want a bit more information and data first before wildcarding now. Do you think Arsenal can keep a clean sheet in Game Week 4? Planning on playing Ben White along with Shaw and Trent? I think they can. I wouldn't be confident, but I think they can. Would you sell Benrahma after the Southampton match? Potentially, but I just got him in, really, so I want to give him a bit of time, if possible. Rafinha or Torres? Long-term, perhaps Rafinha is the better pick, but I'm going to go for Torres. Bit of recency bias there, but yeah, I'd probably say Torres. If you could take any chip from any fantasy league game and add it to FPL, which chip would you pick and why? Yeah, the Limitless is a very good example from UCL Fantasy. And I think there's another fantasy game, I'm not sure which one, where you can have 2 captains. I think it might be the Norwegian League fantasy game or Bundesliga. I'd probably have that. So 2 captains and also the Limitless chip. What do you think about having Shaw? I think it's fine, even on a wild card, and you can use him as a placeholder for another Chelsea defender. Matip, not too keen on him. I think he's injury prone. You think Ronaldo will play the first day back? I think he will. If he's fit and available, yeah, I think he will. Should I take a -12 or activate my wild card? I'd say neither. I would definitely not do a -12 hit. If you really need to make a lot of transfers, then yeah, maybe a wildcard is beneficial, but I try to avoid, unnecessary wildcards or hits. No problem, Harry. Thank you for joining in, mate. Jota, Greenwood or Torres? Long term, perhaps Jota, but right now I prefer Greenwood out of the 3. Duffy or Williams? Duffy, if he starts, the problem I have is that Veltman's coming back and Duffy could lose his place. Williams should be fairly nailed and he's cheaper. Would you gamble on Odegaard as a big differential? I definitely wouldn't. I'd have no faith in Arsenal like that, especially offensively, and I prefer Damari Gray actually. Force on Dele Alli? 6.5 is a decent price point. He's going to get the occasional double-digit return, but I probably wouldn't go for him. I think Rafinha's better. Then if with a bit more money, Ferran Torres, Greenwood, Jota, even around the same price, Damari Gray and Sarr, and potentially even Traore. Yeah, not for me. And there's also Son and Kane from Spurs. Do you think Greenwood and Ronaldo should start together? I think it's a possibility in Game Week 4 at least. I think Ronaldo up front, Sancho left, and Greenwood right. The problem is when Rashford comes into the mix, Greenwood will definitely be rotated from time to time. What is your team? My team is this. I haven't made any transfers yet. I want to wait until kind of Game Week 4 deadline. I have a bit more information in terms of international duty, injuries, especially Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Is he going to be fit or not? But I'm thinking of making 2 free transfers. Danny Ings and Bruno out for Ronaldo and Ferran Torres, but I'm not too convinced about Ferran Torres, to be honest. I'd rather have Jota, but that would require a -4 hit by getting rid of Tsimikas. Robertson for Trent to make room to bring Lukaku in. Ooh. Yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, it's not too much of a downgrade, but I wouldn't want to get rid of Trent. I think there's a big difference between him and Robertson. And the thing with the Scotsman is he could be sharing some minutes with Tsimikas. Not enough to kind of lose clean sheet points, but still, it limits his potential in the final few minutes to get a goal contribution. Tsimikas, Bruno and Ings out for Cody, Jota and Ronaldo. Yeah, looks solid. You could even go for Marcel instead of Cody. That looks really good. Obviously, it would be for a -4 at least, but it could be worth it, Leroy. Leroy the T-Boy, what a name. I should play Fantasy Manager one day. Seems like a decent game. You must not like the wild card with Ronaldo that's on screen. I swear that you don't want him. Yeah, I mean, look, I am thinking of not wildcarding, but getting Ronaldo in, but that will come in the future. And as for Fantasy Manager, I've heard some very good things about it, but yeah, I've just never got around to play it. Yeah, oh, and -4, yeah, definitely would be. Cheers for the super chat, Rock and Roll 2 2015. Really appreciate it, mate. Keep up all the hard work. Your work really helps others. Yeah, thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. And once again, you didn't have to, but really appreciate it. It's a great gesture. Question: what games do you try to watch? What games do I try to watch? Well, if I'm being honest, in terms of the Premier League, I've watched a few games recently, but mainly through the highlights. I've just, especially with Arsenal, I've lost interest with Arsenal, you know. I used to watch every single game. And obviously, if I'm not answering the correct question, let me know. And then, obviously, that would be very terrible of me. But yeah, in terms of Arsenal, I've been on and off this season. And I actually watched the City game from start to finish. I was at a sports bar and, I was wearing my Arsenal shirt. No one was really taking the piss, but yeah, it's just so embarrassing, really. But in terms of games, I watch every single Argentina game for the qualifiers, and for the Premier League, I will be watching even more games from now on. But I watched a few like United in Game Week 2, I believe, and Game Week 1. Same with Liverpool when they played. I watched them against Chelsea, actually. But yeah, I think I'd say in the past I watched even more matches than now. And you don't have to watch every game or most of them to get a good rank in FPL. You can even sometimes not watch at all and even win it. I think there's examples actually of FPL winners who haven't watched too many games. But yeah, appreciate the super chat and a very good question, mate. Any update on Firmino? Nothing yet, as far as I'm aware, but I believe he's not going to be out for too long. So perhaps a few weeks, maybe a month, and he should be back, but we could get more information on that soon. Tierney plus Cody or White plus Semedo? Great question. I would probably say... Oh, great question. Great question. I would probably go for Tierney and Semedo. What an idiot. Tierney and Cody. Sorry. Would you wildcard if you can't get to Ronaldo easily and want to get rid of Mbeumo, Veltman, Amati, etc.? I mean, what other transfers would you make? If it's just those lot and possibly another one to get Ronaldo in, I'm not sure. Ultimately, for a wildcard, it would have to be 7 or more changes for me. Odegaard versus Norwich. Yeah, that's fair enough. You know, a lot of people have been mentioning Odegaard, and he's got a very good fixture against Norwich, but I don't know, man. I still prefer Demarai Gray from Everton. They have good fixtures until Game Week 12, remember? So I'd still rather go for him. If Odegaard shows a bit of promise, then maybe it's worth considering him, but I'm not sure. He's the type of player who can have a great game and not get any points. When would you use the triple captaincy on free hit? How have you used the free hit previous times? Great question. How did I use the free hit last season? Yeah, I used it in Game Week 18, where it was a blank game week. And typically it is used either in a blank game week or a double game week. So I definitely recommend using it in one of those times. And it pretty much what the free hit allows you to do is focus on other game weeks and not change your team completely for one kind of different game week where it might be a blank or a double and you want to just change your team and then have to completely change it once again. You just want a clean slate. So a free hit in that time is pretty much ideal. And same with triple captain in terms of I definitely use it in a double game week if possible. And last season we got a triple game week for United and Greenwood and Bruno did the business. So triple captaining a player in such a game week is very, very good. And if not, just triple captaining a player like Salah, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Bruno even, when they have a very good fixture, such as Newcastle at home potentially. But I'd probably recommend a double or triple game week, which we probably won't get again. And yeah, the free hit, blank or double game week. It ultimately depends if you want to be offensive or a bit more defensive and cautious. Should I take a hit for Ronaldo in for Ings and Bruno for Gray, then Cody for Tsimikas the week after or the way around and avoid taking a hit? I'd probably, avoid taking a hit and do it the other way around. Oh, Jesus, my voice cracked there. What's happening there? But yeah, I'd probably do it the other way around and avoid taking a hit. My team for this game week: Sanchez, Reguilon, Shaw, Cody, Trent, Son, Salah, Benrahma, DCL, Jimenez, Antonio. Can you rate my team for game week 4? In terms of an actual rating, looking at game week 4 specifically, I'd probably say a 9, to be honest, because Cody, I'm not sure about getting a clean sheet in game week 4, but Sanchez could. Reguilon definitely could. Shaw is... Not only could he get a clean sheet, he can get an attack and return. Trent, same thing. Son, yeah, one of the best captaincy options this week. Salah, yeah, the only thing I would say is that you have no Ronaldo and no Lukaku, but you can't have everyone, and it's a really good team overall. So I'd say definitely an 8 or a 9. Who do you think will get the most FPL points this season? Great question. I think Salah, because he's already got a lot of points under his belt, and Ronaldo's coming a bit late. So I'd probably go for Salah. I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think will be the top scorer in FPL this season? And let's show the wildcard team again. And feel free to make any changes you want, of course. There's no right or wrong answer. Wow, this is a really good... yeah, Sora says, are you a North Londoner? That's a great guess. Yes, I am, mate. I am. Grealish or Son, says Marcus. I prefer Son. Grealish I'm not too keen on. I'd rather have Torres. Ronaldo, Antonio, DCL, Torres, Gray, Sissoko, Traore, Salah, Williams, Trent, Emerson, Shaw, Semedo, Sanchez and Ward as a wild card. Very solid. You could maybe just go for a cheaper Spurs defender than Emerson, but the rest looks very good. Yeah. Yeah, Traore, obviously very popular pick. That looks really good for Ipleu. I'm guessing that's how you say it. Semedo, you could maybe go to Marçal or Cody instead, but that looks solid. Lukaku or Ronaldo? I'd say Ronaldo over the next 3 game weeks, and then you can change him to Lukaku in game week 7. Something I'm taking highly into consideration is getting Benrahma out isn't sustainable, and West Ham's fixtures are only getting worse. Better options for less. Who'll get more attacking returns? Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about more attacking returns, but a similar amount. I think Benrahma had a hot streak in the first 2 game weeks. I never expected it to continue to the same level, but I would still expect a few hauls here and there. But yeah, I was probably too late on him, to be honest. Hey bro, Ings to Antonio, DCL or Jimenez? Oh yeah, definitely to Antonio. If you don't have him already, Antonio. And DCL is a great option if he's fit, but I'd go for Antonio. Ronaldo to stay my side, then swap Lukaku in game week 7, says Ali McGregor. Yeah, I'd probably do that, to be honest. And if I do get Ronaldo in, I'm thinking of something similar. Who is the most nailed Chelsea defender? Yeah, just like Diamond says, I think Rudiger is probably the most nailed. But even then, Tuchel did rotate him from time to time. So yeah, it's a -12. Should I just free hit to get rid of the -12? I wouldn't do that. Wildcard gone last week, says Troller Guy. Damn. Yeah, I wouldn't free hit, to be honest. I just stick with the -12 and just let those hits pay off in the long term. I'm new, sorry. What is a blank game week, says Robin. So basically... yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, that's kind of assumed knowledge what I was doing there. So sometimes there's going to be fixture clashes between the Premier League and, let's say, for example, the FA Cup or another cup competition like the Champions League or the Carabao Cup. And when that happens, a particular team will blank, and same with their opponent in a particular game week. This tends to happen in the second half of the season. So when that happens, that game needs to be rescheduled to another game week, and that could form a double game week. But for the time being, that original game week where that game was supposed to be played, it's a blank game week because those teams do not play. So if, for example, you have Triple United, you have Bruno, Ronaldo and Shaw, and they blank, let's say, when they play Everton in game week 21, then unfortunately what that means is you've got to actually probably take them out or maybe even use a free hit. That's why I always talk about the free hit during a blank game week. It allows you to navigate and avoid taking extra hits if, for example, you're kind of ill-prepared for a certain game week where you might actually be down to 8 men and you can't even fill out your entire squad. So hopefully that makes it clear. If you have any other questions, let me know down in the comment section. But yeah, that's pretty much a blank game week. Nothing too complicated, I guess, but it's worth considering. Although at this stage of the season, not too relevant, I guess. Do you think Ronaldo will play this week? I think so, Troller Guy. Should I -8? Says Brandon. For who? Buendia, Fernandes, Ings to Traore, Ronaldo, and a midfielder who's 4.5 million. Ooh, I mean, assuming the 4.5 million midfielder isn't a starter and you have a good player in your starting 11 to fill in, I'd say it could be worth a -4. I would try to avoid a -8, but I'm guessing you have to facilitate the Ronaldo move. Rate my team: Sanchez, Ward, Emerson, Semedo, Shaw, Trent, Williams, Gray, Sissoko, Traore, Torres, Salah, Ronaldo, DCL, Antonio. Yeah, definitely a solid 8 out of 10. The reason why is because you could potentially have a bit more better value from Emerson. You can move him to another Spurs defender, Semedo to another Wolves defender, for example. And then when you look at your midfield, to be fair, it's decent, but having Gray, Traore and Sissoko, I think you could improve your midfield a bit, but it's a very good team. I'd say a 7 or 8 out of 10. Worth wildcarding to get rid of the following players: Amati and Mbeumo, Foster, Perica, Ings, Son, Veltman and Sanchez. Damn, that is a lot of players, to be fair. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 transfers would, I'd say, justify a wild card. But then again, some of these players you're getting out, like Son and Sanchez, could be very good even in the next few game weeks. But yeah, MSK, I'd say it's potentially worth using the wild card, but you can always wait a few more game weeks. You have a solid team and you can have a bit more data and make even better decisions in game week 7. That's just my opinion though. And I'd say, if possible, try save the wild card, but it is worth it if you do go ahead. Shall I go with Traore? I'd say why not? You know, he's a good option at 6 million. He's got underlying stats and he's getting into great positions. The problem I have with him is his end product, and I just prefer other options around his price, but he's a decent option. Will Amati lose his place? I think when Vestergaard comes back, he will. Then, you know, not to mention Fofana and all these other players that are going to come into the mix. Johnny Evans. Yeah, no problem, Troller Guy. Ronaldo, Vardy and Dennis, or Ronaldo, Bamford and Jimenez? Great question. I'd probably say Ronaldo, Bamford and Jimenez, although I'd rather have Antonio or DCL over Bamford. This is my team: Raya, Pinnock, Reguilon, Dyer, Benrahma, Greenwood, Grealish, Gray, Ronaldo, Kane, Lukaku. Some very interesting picks there, Zaki. So you got Grealish, pretty different, I'd say. Pinnock and Raya, double up in... yeah, I actually like that, to be fair. Although, just bear in mind, you know, with the fixture swing for Brentford, that could be a bit of a problem, but it's a good team, you know. I like the differentials, to be fair. I was thinking about it so much, lol. I might captain Lukaku. Thoughts? I think he could be fantastic this week. Everyone's looking at Ronaldo. It could be Lukaku who's the star of the show. So I definitely, you know, I would recommend him if you just want to have Lukaku from now all the way until game week 11, really. Son or DCL? I'd probably say DCL, mate. Thank you, Leroy, the T-Boy, what a name, by the way, for the super chat. Transfer done to beat the Simicast drop. Oh, he's going to drop, yeah. That would make sense. I mean, a lot of people will now realise, oh, yeah, Robertson's playing. Let's get rid of him, and he's going to go back down in price. But just to let you know, mate, Leroy, the T-Boy, this is something I discussed earlier. So Simicast has gone up by 0.2 million. But in terms of sell value, even if he goes down tonight to 4.1, you don't actually lose any money because you have to... So when you bring in a player, you need them to go up by 0.2 million in order for their selling price to go up by 0.1 million. So by that going to 4.1 million, I know it's a bit confusing, but yeah, when it goes back down to 4.1 million, you're not really going to lose out there because it's the same thing. So hopefully that makes it clear. But Simicast will probably drop to 4 million at some point, especially if Robertson continues to start, which, to be honest, it probably will. Who is better, Vardy or DCL? DCL, mate, for sure. Is that a wildcard side, lad? Yeah, James, it's awful, isn't it? But yeah, feel free to give your suggestions. I'm not wildcarding, by the way. This is just some ideas. I've got some different teams on screen. So I've got like a Son draft. I've also got a Lukaku and Ronaldo draft that I showed all of you earlier. That's my current team. It's awful, I know. But this is something similar to what I'd wildcard to. It's not perfect. You know, Ferran Torres, as much as I like him as an asset, I'm not too sure about him. And, you know, Tomiyasu might not even start in game week 4. You can always go for Ben White instead, or maybe Dyer or Tanganga. But yeah, you know, there's different options. Let's go for Tanganga, but just to kind of heads up for you lot, Tanganga could lose his spot to Emerson Royale. Not sure about game week 4, but in the long term, it's something to consider. Tanganga isn't a natural right back as far as I'm concerned. He kind of can play centre back and right back, but yeah, it should be interesting. Should De Bruyne be relevant after he's fit? Yeah, he definitely should be relevant, especially in UCL fantasy, but in FPL, I think there's just too many options, and if City keep rotating, I probably would just look elsewhere. Greenwood or Jota? I prefer Greenwood, but I like Jota a lot. I'm feeling risky. Jesus for the next 2 at least. Well, he's actually been very good when he's played, and he could be a great differential. So, you know, Jesus could be the kind of forgotten man who does the business. Not someone I'd go for because of rotation, but he's still really good. Who is the best 4.5 million Wolves defender? I'd probably say Marçal. If not, I'd just go for Cody. Duffy or Tsimikas. Tsimikas won't play. Duffy has more of a chance. Well, Tsimikas will play, but just not start. Let's put it that way. And as for Duffy, he will probably lose his spot to Veltman, but yeah, probably more likely to start in Game Week 4. So I'd go for him. Not really too much to separate them. Yeah, I agree, Rory. Yeah, Tsimikas won't play. At least start the game. I don't know that about the selling price things. I thought that you had to sell before they dropped to bank the 0.1. Well, this is the thing. So that's assuming your player's gone up by 0.2 million, right? As you know, after you've got them in. So let's say, for example, am I even going to give the right example? I'm not sure, but yeah, Danny Ings and Bruno. I got them in when Bruno was 12 and when Ings was 8. They both went up to 12.1 and 8.1 respectively, but they've also now gone back down because people are shipping them out. But I actually don't lose any value really because I needed them to go up by 0.2 million in order for their selling price to also do the same thing. So yeah, hopefully that's clear. But yeah, I mean, I kind of get it. You know, it's to prevent people from building ridiculous team values and also to, you know, keep on chopping and changing their team. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people kind of get caught up by that. And it's something I learned a few years ago and I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting to be fair. I'm guessing you say misuse them for Son for Salah because Leeds defense is awful and Palace don't concede a lot. Oh, you used the -4 hit for Son for Salah. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, I don't know about Palace don't concede a lot. I mean, Vieira is a different manager to Roy Hodgson. I get why you say that. If anything, Spurs aren't the type of team to score too many goals. And I think Liverpool could put 2 or 3 past Leeds. I get why you did that, but even then, Salah's just someone you don't want to go without. Rate my team: Sanchez, Trent, White, Livramento, Shaw, Salah, Son, Jota, Rafinha, Antonio. It's a good team. I think long term it's a good team. You know, looking at Rafinha in particular, I'd say for Game Week 4 I'd say 7 out of 10 maybe, but long term it's an 8 for sure. Livramento is not someone I'm too keen on in terms of starting, but still a good team. Would you keep Benrahma on Wildcard? Look, he's in my wildcard drafts here, and he's someone who could do well for the next 2 game weeks or so, but to be honest, there's different choices you can go for. In my best wildcard team, he didn't make it. I think Damari Gray could potentially be better, even Sarr, Rafinha, if you can afford him. Honestly, look, on a wildcard, if I had enough money, I'd go for Rafinha over Benrahma, but he's still a good option. You can go for him. You can double up on West Ham attack, but I just don't expect, you know, the kind of level of output from the first 2 game weeks. He's still good, though. Worth holding Barnes? Not for me, Nigel. I'd probably get rid, because even if he does haul, it's just going to be inconsistent, and Leicester just haven't been impressive offensively, and it's really surprising, to be honest. Traore, Rafinha for sure, mate. Is Marcel nailed? Not completely nailed. That's why I'd also, you know, look at Cody, but Marcel, so long as he plays, will probably offer more attacking threat. Loving the stream. Thank you very much, mate. And we've been actually streaming for nearly 2 hours, so really appreciate it, guys. Rate my team: Sanchez, Trent, Reguilon, Cody, Salah, Son, Greenwood, Traore, Ronaldo, and Antonio. Any changes? From a personal point of view, I don't like Traore too much. He's still a good option, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily change it. There's nothing that's bad there, so it's a really good team. Sanchez, Shaw, Trent, Tanganga, Marty, Duffy, Benrahma, Torres, Salah, Gray, Traore, Ronaldo, Lukaku, and 352. Please rate my team. Look, Ashish, so it's a really good team. You've got some very good players. The problem I have with it is your defenders. So Tanganga could lose a spot to Emerson, although it might not happen in Game Week 4, so you should be fine for this week. Amati and Duffy, both of them could lose their spots, especially when Veltman returns for Brighton and Vestergaard for Leicester, not to mention Fofana and Johnny Evans. So the defence is the cause for concern, but I like your midfield. It's pretty good. And yeah, your attack is very solid. Ronaldo and Lukaku. So yeah, looking really good. And you got Salah. So yeah, for that, you know, if you want a rating, I'd say 8, because Salah, Ronaldo and Lukaku is really good. The reason why it's not higher is because of the defensive depth. I think it could be better. If you bought X at 4, then they go up to 4.2, then drop to 4.1. Your sell value will drop back to 4. It's always half rounded down from the price you paid, says Tom Evans. Fair enough, but in terms of Tsimikas, I mean, as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure in the rules section, do they have something about that? If they do, it's definitely worth mentioning in my next videos to kind of clarify for everyone. But yeah, that's what I thought was the case, but I could be wrong. Should I bring in Ronaldo and Greenwood for Ings and Bruno? I have 2 free transfers. I like it. Just obviously, it's up to you if you think both of them can coexist in the same lineup, Daisy. But I think they're good transfers. Hey bro, should I use a -8? Buendia, Fernandes, Ings, Traore, Ferran Torres and Ronaldo. I tried to limit it to a -4 or just not take a hit at all, Brandon, to be honest. Dylan, mate, what's your link with Argentina? Is it family from there or you from there for a Messi thing? I only ask because of the British accent. Feel free not to share if too personal. Yes, too personal, Josh. Let's move on. No, I'm joking. Yeah, my family are from Argentina and that's why I support them. And just in football, I've just identified with them, with the national team. So yeah, it's not really a Messi thing, to be honest. But of course, he's pretty much been there all the time that I've been supporting. But yeah, it's a family thing. I wouldn't be supporting them just because of Messi, believe it or not. Thoughts on Tanganga? Look, I like him a lot. He's been doing really well in the first few game weeks. I just think that he could lose a spot to Emerson, and he could be the main starting right back for Spurs. Maybe not in game week 4, but looking forward. Should I bring in Ronaldo and Greenwood for Ings and Bruno? I have 2 free transfers. Yeah, once again, Daisy, and yeah, don't spam the chat. Yeah, I'd probably say 2 good transfers. You can always go for another midfielder over Greenwood. What do you think about Dennis? The best option at 5.2 or below in the attackers anyway. But I don't know, I just prefer Gray at a similar price in midfield and just going for the kind of 7, 8 or premium players in the attack. And when I say 7 or 8, by the way, I mean 7 or 8 million. Should I bring in Ronaldo? Yeah, I've just read the same question again. What are your score predictions for Game Week 4? I will be actually doing that in my preview. If you check that out, I will be giving all my score predictions for that, along with other stuff like a roundup of news. But yeah, I mean, looking at Arsenal-Norwich, let me be optimistic. I'll say 3-0. 3-0 Arsenal, but I might change my mind when I make the video. Thanks a lot, mate. No problem, Ashish. Should I do Livramento for Emerson, Sarr for Sissoko and Marçal for Semedo? I probably would, Footy Plur. So long as you have enough defensive depth, to be able to get Livramento, I'd probably go for that. Rate my team: De Gea, Trent, Dyer, Rudiger, Torres, Greenwood, Salah, Gray, DCL, CR7, Antonio. Wow, that's really good. De Gea I'm not too sure about, but I like the rest. Yeah, you know what? Forget about De Gea. I'd probably even say potentially a 9. Potentially, yeah. I could go for that. And DCL, just bear in mind with him, he is an injury concern, and you do have Gray as well. You don't have to have double Everton attack, but could be really good against Burnley. Please rate my team: Trent, Alonso, Shaw, Salah, Jota, Greenwood, Torres, Gray, Ronaldo, Antonio. Probably a 9 as well, once again. I mean, to be honest, the main thing is the kind of feedback, not the ratings. That's kind of irrelevant. But yeah, so long as Alonso starts, that's a really solid defence, and the midfield and attack looks very good. You've got Ronaldo in there as well. Rate my team: Trent, Shaw, Soufal, Dunk, Bruno, Salah, Rafinha, Soucek, Tony, Watkins, Antonio. Says Francis is a good team. Tony is still a good option, probably one of the best at his price. Soucek, I just don't really see the kind of same level of his output from last season. Watkins, I think you can do better, especially with the fixtures coming up. And same with Rafinha. Well, at least for Game Week 4, I think Rafinha is good long term, so that's fine. Dunk is decent. I'd probably say a 7 out of 10, but obviously, who cares about ratings, in my opinion. I'd probably just recommend in the future upgrading Tony, Soucek for sure, and maybe Dunk. You could save a bit of money there by going a bit further down in terms of price. You've got 2 5 million defenders, you've got a 5.5 and a 7.5, so you could maybe take a bit of money out of your defence and upgrade your midfield, such as Soucek. Is there really that much between Bamford and DCL? Not too much, I think. Bamford will pick it up, especially with the fixtures for Leeds, but I think so far this season there's been a gap, and DCL has been far better. Underlying stats, Everton's attack, and they still have good fixtures until Game Week 12. So for the time being, I prefer DCL. Why are you playing Tanganga when they just signed Emerson? Well, like I said, it's just, in my opinion, Emerson will displace him. Maybe not in Game Week 4, but still, Tanganga's worth considering. He's been, I'd say, nearly undroppable. He shouldn't be dropped, but I think he will come. And if not, you can always go for Dyer, Tomiyasu, Ayling. There's different options. Like I said, whenever you see kind of a wildcard team or a best team for a particular game week, you can always make a change or two depending on your opinion. I personally would probably go for someone else other than Tanganga, but a Spurs defender is still a viable option. Who would you get instead of De Gea? Good question, Wilf. Yeah, fair enough. Good value. Yeah, I mean, he is 5 million. That is true. It's just I think you might potentially waste the potential United slot, like Greenwood, for example, if he continues to start. Look, De Gea is a good option. You can always stick with him. But if not, go for Jose Sarr, Sanchez. yeah, I'd probably look at one of those two, to be fair. But yeah, and if you have enough money, Mendy, but I just don't really think 6 million for a goalkeeper, probably not worth it. I don't know why, but I would go with Sarr over Benrahma or Greenwood. Fair enough, that's a good suggestion, and I'd probably go for Sarr over Traore, but just a difference of opinion really there. Scotland or Cornwall for a week off? I've been Scotland, but I haven't been Cornwall, so I'm not sure. I'd probably say Cornwall. It looks nice, but Scotland, there's some good places there. It's a bit colder though. Mate, can you please suggest me who I should replace Tanganga, Duffy and Amati with? Well, it depends on your budget, and you have to take money elsewhere. But look, with Tanganga, he could still start, at least in Game Week 4, but long term, it's just someone I highlighted in terms of, keeping in mind. You can go to Dyer as a like-for-like replacement. You can go for Marçal. You can go for Cody. And the same goes for Duffy and Amati. You can replace these lot with those cheap 4.5 million defenders. What do you think of Jota over Greenwood? That's fair enough. It's a 50-50 decision. It's not really something that, I would say, oh, you definitely have to go for Greenwood. I personally prefer him right now. But Jota still, Firmino's out. Maybe it makes more sense to go for him on a wild card. What do you think of 4-4-2? Once again, the formation is not really too important in my opinion. It's the players you have. 4-4-2 is a viable formation, and I like 3-5-2, 3-4-3, even 4-3-3 potentially. But yeah, I tend to play, if you look at my team, for example, I tend to play 3-4-3 or maybe even 3-5-2. But yeah, 4-4-2 is fine, especially if you have really good defenders long term. Son a good shout, definitely. And let me show you this team that I have with Son in. And yeah, this is just be a 4.5 million striker here. Let's go here. Let's put Richardson. Doesn't really matter too much. And then instead of Tanganga for this one, let's go for Tomiyasu. But I'm not really too sure about these 4.5 million options, to be honest. That's why on a wild card, we can have a good idea of what we want. But I think with a few more weeks of data and knowing how the season's going to pan out, I think we'll have an even better kind of. Yeah, I say we can make better decisions when it comes to the wild card. With the Heung-min Son draft, I'd go for something like this potentially. I think Son's a really good option, but I wouldn't have him at the expense of a Salah or a Ronaldo or Lukaku. I think they could potentially be better options. Maybe Son will outscore Lukaku, but I'm not sure about Ronaldo and Salah up until the end of the season. But Son is a good option, and for him to really pay off as an asset, Spurs need to start scoring more than one goal per game, really. Sanchez or Backman in goal? I prefer Sanchez. I just don't trust Watford defensively. I think Raya's a good option, but I just don't like the fixtures. And you can always go for Jose Sarr at 5 million. Who should I go for in Game Week 7? Havertz or Mount in midfield? I love the vids, bro. Thank you, Christopher. Ooh, that's tough. Havertz is going to be more of a rotation risk, but I prefer him when he does start. So I'd probably go for Havertz. Then again, though, you can also go for Greenwood, Jota, Ferran Torres. The list goes on, really. Who should I replace Barnes with, says Ricky Simmons. If you can, I'd go for either Ferran Torres, Greenwood or Jota. So I'm assuming you have one of them in already. So maybe one of the other two. Are you playing Wildcard this week? I am not, Wilf. I was just showing some Wildcard teams for you lot. So once again, this is the Son draft. And this is the one with Lukaku and Ronaldo in it. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see all your thoughts in the comment section for anyone who does watch this stream afterwards. But yeah, there's no right or wrong in FPL. You can always go for different options. And honestly, if I was wildcarding, this first one, which is probably the most likely I'd wildcard to. There might be one or two changes like Tomiyasu. I'm not too sure about that. Benrahma, could maybe go for a Rafinha instead if I have more money elsewhere. Livramento instead of Williams, although there's not too much difference between the two assets. I just don't really see too many clean sheets for Southampton, and even worse for Norwich, really, although some good fixtures are coming up for Norwich in the long term. But yeah, Christensen as well. If you're not really too confident about him starting, you can always go for Rudiger. But yeah, in terms of me wildcarding, I'm probably not going to do that. And I'm going to be making 2 free transfers. Bruno Fernandes and Ings potentially out. And I'll be bringing Ronaldo and maybe Ferran Torres in, but I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to give it a few more days and then completely decide. And once I do, I'll be making the team selection video along with the preview and other stuff coming to the channel, and you lot will know what I'm doing. But yeah, thank you everyone who has tuned in. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here, and share this video around with anyone who loves FPL, UCL Fantasy, and football in general. So yeah, really appreciate all the support, and thank you everyone in the chat, especially those who send the super chat. Really appreciate it, showing extra support to the channel. Once again, you don't have to do that, but obviously really appreciate those who did it. And remember to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Dylan_RCM. I post regularly on those platforms, and you can contact me there about your teams and just whatever really, especially about football. So yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll be reading some last comments before wrapping up. Let's see what I've missed out. I've missed out on quite a few questions today. Apologies for that. I've tried my best, but yeah, obviously it can be very difficult sometimes. Let's see, what have I missed out? Yeah, damn, a lot of Jota not a good option. He definitely is. It's pretty much having him and Greenwood is ideal. But let's go back to the team page. Look, it's kind of up to you who you prefer. I prefer Greenwood just a bit, at least in this moment in time, especially with that Newcastle fixture in mind. But ultimately, look, it's up to you. If you have Salah, you don't have to have Jota. But going with both of them is a nice differential. You just can't have everyone. He is a good option, and I've never said he isn't. But yeah, I mean, Jota's underlying stats are insane. And if he can continue to start with Firmino coming back, he's someone I'll probably get in my team. Sarr or Backman in goal? Sarr for me, Kaz. When are you planning on using your wildcard, says Harvey? Probably game week 7 or 8 potentially, but I'm not settled on it. I'm just kind of trying to be patient and not use it now, pretty much. Sanchez or Backman in goal? I prefer Sanchez. Thoughts on Lookman? Yeah, look, he could also be someone else to think about, but you know what? It's always the same thing with these kind of new transfers. I want to wait and see first before kind of going into them. Would the Son team be laid out as a 3-5-2? Good question. So let's go back to the Son team. Potentially, yeah. So Christensen, Trent, and either Marçal, Tanganga, or Livramento starting most weeks. And remember, you can go for another 4.5 million other than Tanganga because potentially he may not start when Emerson comes into the side and is fully fit. But yeah, it would be, or a 3-5-2, yeah, pretty much. Richardson is just third sub, forget about him. The 5 midfielders would play every single game week. I'm not too sure about starting Gray every single match, but he's still a good option. Dylan, why do you... Well, I'm not ignoring your team, mate. I've already asked you 5 times. Well, where's your team? Put your team up again. Yeah. Sanchez, Ayling, Soufal, Shaw, Tsimikas, Williams, Salah, Rafinha, Sissoko, Gray, Greenwood, Ronaldo, Antonio, Lukaku. Okay, I like your attack a lot. Your midfield, Salah, Rafinha, Sissoko, Gray, Greenwood, is still very good. Obviously, maybe not for game week 4, looking at Rafinha, but long term is good. Your defence, Ayling, Soufal, Shaw, Tsimikas, Williams. I try to potentially improve Tsimikas or Williams. I mean, Williams is 4 million. He's going to play, so I'd keep him. I'd probably try to improve on Tsimikas if possible, especially if you have 2 free transfers. And yeah, Gray's fine. Having him, Sissoko, Rafinha, I mean, yeah, I still think it's a good midfield. Ultimately, just try to improve on Tsimikas. I don't know how much money you have in the bank, but if you can, upgrade him to a 4.5 million defender. Any of those we discussed today or that you've seen on screen. Cheers, Dylan. Have a good weekend. Thank you, Steve. Likewise, mate. Thank you, Ali McGregor. Josh says advice. Sanchez, Forster, Trent, Shaw, Duffy, Amati, Ayling, Salah, Jota, Bruno, Benrahma, Basuma, Bamford, Wilson and Antonio. No chips used all season. 1 free transfer this game week and 215 points. Oh, for a second I thought you said no free transfers used all season. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, it's a good start, mate. In terms of advice, Shaw, Duffy, Amati, Ayling, Salah. Maybe your midfield, not midfield, sorry, your defence. So you have Shaw, Trent, that's fine. But Duffy, and Amati and Ayling, I think you could potentially improve your defence a bit because long term, Duffy and Amati will probably lose their spots. So I'd recommend trying to improve a bit there. Your midfield looks very good. You can always take money out of Bruno and get in Ronaldo, or if not, use that money to invest in the rest of your squad, such as your defence. Your attack is pretty good, to be fair, although I do prefer DCL over Wilson and Bamford. They're still 2 good options and they can do really well for you. They're great differentials, especially Wilson. Antonio's a no-brainer. So it's a good team. I'd try to improve a bit your defence, but it's a good team, mate. I've removed Bruno and Ings, gone with Torres, Greenwood, Ronaldo, Salah, Benrahma, Tony, Antonio. 8.6. I mean, fair enough. I mean, I don't like hits too much, but long term, those moves can pay off. Just try to be patient with those moves you made. What do you think about Sanchez, Diaz, James, Marcel, Salah, Torres, Gray, Rafinha, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Antonio? Thanks for your support. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Alan, mate. It's a good team. Marcel, I like him. Reece James, when he's... I think Reece James is good. Let me actually check. I mean, am I actually being foolish here? How long is Reece James out for? Let's check. Oh, he's just called James on this. Isn't it a 3-match ban? Yeah, until the 19th of September. Okay, so yeah, he's only missing 1 match. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Reece James is a really good option. Obviously, if you're wildcarding, it's a bit of a weird one to go for him now. But yeah, I mean, I like him. And then let's see the rest of the team. Torres, Gray, Rafinha, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Antonio. Fantastic attack. The midfield's really good. You've got Salah in there. Yeah, I like that team a lot, to be honest. And Diaz, I wouldn't say he's a differential. A lot of people have him, but from the community on Twitter and YouTube, I haven't seen too many of him, so I like that. Yeah, Ricky says, who do I replace with Barnes? I mean, just to let you know, I did answer your question, but I'd say Torres, Greenwood, or Jota. So you probably have one of them already, and whoever you already have, think of one of the other two and go for one of them. Greenwood and Jota, I prefer Greenwood slightly, but long term, he's going to be in and out of the team potentially. Is Ait Nouri a threat to Marcel's starting spot? I think he could be, to be honest. That's why with Marcel, he's got a lot of attacking potential, but Cody's just more nailed. So if you want a bit more kind of security of starts, just go for Cody. Will DCL play Game Week 4 and any replacements if he doesn't? I think he will play in Game Week 4, but there is a chance he doesn't. And in terms of replacements, I mean, Antonio's a no-brainer. I'm not going to talk about him. I'd say Bamford or Jimenez. Those are two of the ones I'd look at. Potentially Callum Wilson, but yeah, I'd say Jimenez or Bamford. Should I remove Gundogan for Torres? Tough one. I mean, look, Gundogan did really well against Arsenal, but I would rather have Torres. Then again, though, Gundogan's more nailed. So, you could make that move and then Torres is benched against Leicester. Great work. I don't know if you have already talked about Jimenez and other Wolves assets. Then Bamford and Rafinha. Yeah, Bamford and Rafinha I talked about earlier when people were mentioning Leeds players, and they are still two of the ones I'm keeping an eye on, but I don't want to get them in just yet. And as for Jimenez, yeah, I talked about him a bit, but not too much, to be honest, in any of my videos. But he is probably, outside of Antonio, DCL, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Kane, he's probably one of the best striker options for the next 10 game weeks or so. He could be a great differential. Traore, great underlying stats. He can be really good. If you want to take a punt on him, go ahead. I'm just not too convinced by his end product. Trincao could be at risk with Podence coming back. And then Marcel and Cody, I like them as Wolves assets. Thank you very much for your comment, mate. Sanchez, Shaw, Diaz, Semedo, Livramento, Duffy, Salah, Gray, Basuma, Sarr, Rafinha, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Antonio. Thinking of bringing in Bamford after Game Week 7 for Antonio. Please share your thoughts. Yeah, that makes sense, to be honest. And that's when Europa League will start to kick in. That makes complete sense. I like that team. Shaw, Diaz, Semedo. I mean, that's a solid defence. Livramento and Duffy, once again, I'd try to maybe improve one of them, especially Duffy when he loses a spot. But maybe for the time being, Duffy's fine. Salah, Gray, Basuma, Sarr, Rafinha. That's a solid team. Yeah, I'd say long term, just keep an eye on Duffy and Livramento. Try upgrade one of them, especially Duffy if he loses a spot. Would you rather have Benrahma or Torres? Probably Torres, but he is going to be in and out of the team, especially when the Champions League comes back. Better to go for a back four so you have more budget to spend on attack and midfield. Keep up the good work. It's something to consider. You don't have to go for a back three. I know it's very popular. Everyone wants to have the best midfielders and attackers. Going 4 at the back is fine, but in my opinion, you should always try to have 4 good defensive options, regardless of what formation you tend to play. Cheers for answering all my questions, Dylan. Keep up the streams. Only subbed in Euro 2020 Fantasy, and you've doubled your subs, so congrats on that. Have a good evening, mate. Great stream. Thank you, Josh, and yeah, you really appreciate it. Euro 2020 was such a long time ago, but yeah, thank you, mate. And I try my best, obviously. It's very difficult to answer everyone's questions, but I try. And thank you very much for all the good questions and comments you made. Is Torres worth it? Isn't City constant rotation? I think he's worth it, but you want to have good squad depth in order to kind of facilitate Torres, because he's been starting all the games so far. That will not continue, in my opinion. Traore or Harrison? Probably Traore, just about. I'd rather have Rafinha than both of them, though. Dylan, I've just spent my team again. Please give us your suggestions about it. Yeah, mate, I answered your question, actually, earlier on. I gave my suggestions about it. Any good 4.5 million defenders because I'm wildcarding? Okay, so yeah, I'd definitely say... I mean, with Spurs, I would have said Sanchez and Dyer, but Dyer's gone up in price. Sanchez is not making game week 4. I'd say Marçal is a standout. There's Cody. Tomiyasu could be one to look at. I mean, you can see him on screen here. Ben White at 4.4. Ayling is still good, although I don't trust Leeds too much defensively. I'd say Marçal is probably the kind of standout right now. And if you can afford it, Dyer at 4.6. Will DCL play game week 4? I can't guarantee you that, but I think he will. Although there is a chance he misses out, and maybe even game weeks 5 and 6. So that's why we have to wait until the press conferences next week with Rafa Benitez, and then we can see what's happening. But thank you everyone who has tuned in. Like I said, once again, really appreciate all the support. Going to be wrapping up now. We've been streaming for over 2 hours. If you have any questions that I wasn't able to answer, I apologize for that, and just leave them down in the comment section and I'll try to get back to you. And yeah, just thank you so much for the support. Good luck with game week 4. Of course, we still have another week, so let's just chill out, enjoy the international break, and I'll see you next time.